little while for people to join in and start getting, onto the bandwagon, so to speak. So, I can look at it and go, yes, there's currently no one watching. So it's just you and me.
I work in the Australian film industry. I am used to those numbers, sir. I am used to them. That's a rather somber beginning, isn't it?
Isn't it? Yes,
I am actually.
Everybody, hey, look, it's Anthony, isn't he? Isn't he an upbeat?
Bring him the joy and the chuckles.
Yeah, no, it's true though. Like, fuck, man. Like, I remember watching. Oh God, what was the film? So in Tassie, where I'm originally from.
Nice.
Yeah. My mum is my auntie. No. See, this is where I want the sequel to go. I want them.
Sorry, Tasmanian watchers of whom there are none currently.
Yeah, there are none, so it's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, like so there was one cinema. There we go. We got 5 people watching. Now we're talking. Hey, everybody! And as soon as you start chatting away in the chat, I'll start putting your comments onto the screen so Ant can see them.
Very fancy.
Oh, so you don't even know. There's a song in that somewhere. But anyway, so there was one cinema in Tasmania that did off the beaten track kind of films.
Yeah.
So, the only place that I was able to go and see Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
A film that you would want to rush to.
Well, if you don't know that it's the film that it is, you do try and think, Jesus, I want to make an effort to see that because I love that first one.
Of course.
Yeah, the only place was in a cinema in a place called Glenorchy.
There's no way that's a real place, Quinny. You're having to go. You're having to go, man. There's no Glenorchy.
Yes.
It's camp.
It's true. I'm just pulling your leg. Yeah, look at me be a funny, japey young fella. I'm not japey nor young. Yeah, so like that was the only place you could see anything that was even remotely fucking interesting. So that was 2.5 hours drive from where I lived. So the only place I got to see Dark City, Glenorchy. Yeah, it was evening, Casper. How are you? Welcome.
Hi, Casper.
So if you...
Am I allowed to talk to the people too?
Absolutely.
I don't want to breach some protocol.
No,
do not speak to the people.
do not make eye contact with them. Do not
do not like it. He'll come for you.
Yes. Rob will have words. And sometime fairly soon, I'm going to have a bit of just a chat with you to begin with, but then I'm going to put the link into the chat so that everybody can join in and talk and ask questions and shit like that as well. And it becomes a little bit more free-flowing and let's be honest, weird. Shit gets quite strange, but that's okay. Hey, look, angels and devils. The people here I've not even heard of. It's exciting. Anyway, so Ed, how you doing, dude?
I'm good, thank you, sir. I'm very well on this brisk Friday evening on the periodic table of awesome.
Oh, Anthony, you even remembered our name.
No.
You touch my warm.
It is a good name. I got to tell you, it's a good name. It sticks with you. At first, you're like, "Oh, that's a bit busy."
Yeah,
that's quite a lot.
Yep.
But then you go away, and you're like, "You know what? Yeah, I'm into it." Yeah.
So it's funny. Like I was doing the interviews for Mortal Kombat, and I didn't introduce myself where I was from. So I was talking to the director, and he said, "Where are you from?" And I was like, "The periodic table of awesome." He said, "Fuck." I was like, "Yep."
That's kind of a lot.
Yeah, he said, "That's a mouthful." And I said, "It's even harder to type, man." Yeah. So yeah, and that admittedly has proven to be our undoing a few times when it's come to the typing of that into email addresses and so forth.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Well, you got the nice acronym now, don't you?
TPTOA.
TTPO. The thing
see,
you said.
Yeah, not easy to remember.
Just trips off the tongue.
Trippingly. But
trippingly.
Trippingly.
No one quotes that movie anywhere near as much as they should quote that movie.
Why not?
Because it wasn't that amazing. Like it wasn't like Lebowski where you're like, okay, I'm gonna hang out with my mates and watch this on Sunday morning and but it's still that character and that bit was just wonderful.
Yeah. What was the would that it were a sample?
Would that it were so simple. Yeah.
Would that it were so simple. Would that it were so simple. Like that actor giving it what for, and you're like, fuck me, that guy is mangling that more than anyone I've ever heard, and I love it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah.
Sorry about the digression, everyone.
No, they know what it's like.
They're ready for this. They're all right. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. No, they're just used to digression. Normally, they're a part of it, but we will bring you into the fold soon. But yeah, see, look at that. See, Casper, always ready for the digression.
Casper is into it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what he signs up and subscribes to Twitch for, digression. So, nice. And you've written a book.
Yes.
And let's be honest, that's pretty fucking impressive. I'm like, I'm impressed that anyone
or maybe get a hobby other than that, you weirdo. It's 50-50 to me, to be honest. Like sometimes I'm like, this is my baby, and I'm sometimes like, this is my baby? Okay.
This is one of those Rosemary's Baby moments.
Okay.
Like,
yeah. But that's actually kind of sweet in that movie at the end. She's kind of like, I mean, got a father's eyes and hoops, but still, my kid. My kid.
I will love him just the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Well, this one's mine. This is mine, baby.
Is this the physical actual copy?
This is the physical actual copy.
Oh,
with pages and everything. So I'm getting used to the fact that I'm reversed here.
Yeah. No, that's very exciting. Yeah. So look at that. That's even your name on it. I'm gonna.
And they spelled it right and everything.
Yay! So that's the actual cover. You're right, Casper. There are so many fucking pages in this. Like
there are 312. It seems excessive to me. 312. Get it done in 200, kid. What are you doing?
I feel like you just need to hold it up and slap it on the top and just say, you can fit so many pages in this bad boy.
So many swears. So many.
So yeah. I guess first of all, for the people who haven't actually, this is the first time they've heard of it, or they're only just seeing that cover for the first time.
Right.
Tell me, us, them a little bit about what Straya, and incidentally, is that how it is meant to be pronounced?
Straya, yeah.
Straya, yeah. Good.
So Straya is kind of the meeting point of something like Mad Max and The Castle, if they could meld together. So you've got a lead character who's living in the world, what's left of Sydney, the kind of ruined city, crappy streets, insane gangs roaming the place. And our lead character is a fella named Franga, who is a mutant, yellow skin, red eyes, and multiple joints in his legs and arms, so he can sort of bend odd ways. But he's quite, generally speaking, is looked down upon by society. And he lives in a home where he looks after other mutant children.
Right.
And that is run by a bloke called Ken Ages, who is an increasingly senile mentor and father figure. And they make a living in New Sydney by putting on plays. So it's Mad Max in the setting, meets The Castle, because you've got kind of an oddball family. And then a bunch of other stuff happens where we throw like The Thing into the mix and a bit of Judge Dredd in there as well. So it's kind of a cross-genre rollicking adventure story. Also, it's written from the point of view of our hero Franga, who speaks in Strayan, which is a sort of futuristic dialect that's composed of Australian slang, phonetic use of language, and just bullshit that I made up. Just all kind of crammed together into a melange of weirdness.
I'm a big fan of the slang. I mean, I remember early on, where there was the book Strine.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, Strine was a huge influence, absolutely.
Yeah, right. I did wonder about it because, like, there was so much in there that I was like, this feels like, some kind of, not if not an homage to it, some kind of.
Oh yeah. I have a copy of Strine lying around here now, but I can't find it offhand. Also, Barry Humphries, Les Patterson character.
Okay.
Like they talk about the yachts in the book, because they're putting on plays, and it's the yachts, and that's actually from Barry Humphrey's Les Patton character, because he was a minister for the yachts for a while. And I kind of wanted to homage these somewhat lost, like Aussie kind of icons and pop culture and stuff like that, as well as tell kind of a story that was its own thing. But there's so much weird Australian culture. Like, I know there's the Australian culture we're all familiar with, and it's like, yeah, but that's not the real stuff. The real stuff is weird, because we live in a weird country. We live in this conglomeration of the most poisonous insects and just the weirdest wildlife, like platypuses and wombats and kangaroos, that are objectively odd creatures.
Yeah, we've got these things that have, you know, the ability to have fur and also lay eggs, but are also underwater animals, and you're like,
yes,
and they have poisonous
pick
spurs.
Pick a lane, mate. Like, when you find out they got poisonous spurs, you're like, this is when the studio hires 7 writers to work on a screenplay. It was by committee. Like, it's 7 screenwriters got together, and they kept firing them, and they get a new guy in. That's how the platypus was made. Yes.
Yeah, just like, and the thing, okay, well, a little bit of your history. So Rob's there, as Mick Malloy said in the movie, "What the fuck are the arts?" Yeah, your history. You are a screenwriter as well as a novelist. Is this your first full novel?
This is my first full novel. It's technically not my first one. I've got another one that's still being shopped around at the moment, but that was based on a screenplay that I wrote with a good friend of mine and frequent creative partner, Jonathan Green. And so after that one was sort of put to one side and is now going through various processes and dark rituals to come to publishing, I kind of wanted to write something that wasn't based on the screenplay I'd written, and it was just an expression of like a bunch of weird stuff that I'd had running around my head for many decades, just so I could free myself of it. And also it made me laugh. And that was where it sort of came from, was the genesis of it. But yeah, so it's definitely my first original novel, and it's the first one to come out. So
it is your first
in every way that matters. Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty fucking cool. I say to you, congratulations. That's fucking amazing.
Well, thanks,
I think with every critic, there's an amount of fear that goes along with it, going, well, am I just the fuckwit sitting on the sidelines, you know, throwing eggs at the guys who are actually doing the work?
Oh, absolutely.
And you know, them that can do, them that can't criticize.
I actually was a screenwriter before I was a critic, or maybe it was similar sort of times, because I sold the original screenplay for a film called Angst in about 1996, I'm going to say 97, and it got made. It got made in 99, 2000.
Right.
And on the basis of that, I sort of became a critic because I met a bunch of film people, and I was like, I like writing about film. So I went the reverse order, I guess. I did the screenplay first, and then sort of, you know, became a critic kind of guy.
Okay.
Not the fantasy writer Aunt Cassidy, but, you know, thanks for asking.
I feel like there was a collective intake of breath of like, oh, really?
Could it be? No, nothing that exciting, I assure you. I mean, he's a nice bloke, don't get me wrong, but he's not the fantasy writer.
Yeah, and he's not writing fighting fantasy books, which were, you know, possibly the coolest fucking thing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I find the notion that critics can't be writers or vice versa kind of an odd one. There are definitely critics that take it to the extreme where you kind of do see why you like this. Like, what, you seem to be having so little fun. Why do you do it at all? But I don't know. I mean, you're the same. You there's a joy that you have in seeing cinema, particularly sort of cult geeky cinema, but cinema in general, that you love movies and you want to talk about them and you want to big up the good ones. I don't know about you. I'm so over like enjoying slagging off something bad. I'll still do it, but I don't enjoy it. I'm not kind of like, oh yes, I'm just drinking in the joy of this. It's just part of the job sometimes.
Yeah, it is, and it's a weird thing too, because like, okay, one of the points of this whole, you know, concept of the periodic table of awesome is that sorry, there's a ambulance going.
It's a rough neighborhood out there, kids.
Yeah, Dulwich Hill, fucking deadly.
Where We're actually like quite close to each other. We could have just done this in one room.
We actually could have gone to your house.
We're hearing behind me in a second.
Oh, good. Sweet. Yeah, like the whole point of the periodic table of awesome was that we wanted to focus on things that were awesome. Like, you know, from a really, really self-serving kind of way, we wanted to make it fucking marketable. We like the idea of, hey, bring your shit and we will talk about it if it's awesome. And that means that people will want to bring their shit to us. But we still find and continually find that the people really react to the ones that we fucking hate. And it's frustrating because there's that kind of crashed car kind of, and look, I get it. Like there are some times when you see something and it hits you so wrong that you do want to see it suffer a little. And I'm not immune to that. Like I've been guilty of that myself, I'm sure, along the way. But and I think there is always a moment where you kind of have that thing of like, I know that, you know, whoever's making this is never going to see this, but also I hold them in very low regard because they've done something really offensive. I'm looking at you, Michael Bay. And, you know, it is that thing to go, isn't it sometimes nice to have something that just is fucking terrible, like demonstrably fucking terrible?
It's so easy with Michael Bay too, because like it's awful, sure, but also at the same time you realize he's very wealthy, and nothing you say is going to sort of dent his probably wonderful life. So it's always nice. It's the hard things is when you see an indie film that was clearly made with the best of intentions, and it's just awful, and you just kind of you try to find the most positive spin.
Yeah. And we've tried. Oh fuck, we have tried. You know, there are those times where you're just like, oh, I know you wanted to give it what for.
So much right intention, so little execution.
Actual capacity to do it well. And that really does hurt.
Yeah.
Because you know, you can't help but sort of feel like, oh, sorry. I know I'm going to kick you while you're down, but at the same time, I can't lie to you.
I mean, I've been on both sides of it. Like, I know how it feels to be slagged off pretty well. I got singled out personally. I'm not going to say the dude's name because I don't know, he might have been going through some shit. But in like 1999, a reviewer said I was the worst thing to happen to the Australian film industry. I'm like, Jesus, I'm 23. I just got here. I have gone so far. I'm like, damn. And I handled it really maturely, and I went to an awards thing where I knew he was going to be with the sole purpose of kicking the shit out of him. That was absolutely my intent. I was like, again, 23. This is 20-something years ago, and he wasn't there. And I calmed down. It took me a while, but I eventually calmed down. And I was like, Jesus, all right, whatever. But
Missy's asked a really good question. Why? Yeah. What had you done to offend him so fucking much?
He didn't like a movie I wrote. So
okay.
I don't know. I don't know how much power he thought the writer wields in their pasty sub-basement dwelling hand, but apparently it was a lot more than I actually did. But look, I mean, Red Ink, which I did in 2012, also got a lot of great reviews, particularly from the horror community, who were lovely. But it got some slag offs as well. And you get that moment where you're like, there are certain scenes that you shot, and there are certain things that happen, not because you wanted them to happen that way, but because you have no fucking money. And like you just had to finish that scene so it could be inserted in a bunch of other scenes so it would look like a movie at the end of the day. Like you run out of budget, you run out of time. You can't get away with putting a placeholder there and saying, you know, some stuff happens, it's great, but we couldn't pay for it.
Yeah.
And then we didn't realize we could use a line of dialogue like somehow Palpatine returned.
I knew you were going
Who
there.
fucking knew? Oh my God. I thought I had to like craft a whole arc and shit, but he's just somehow
just put it in the crawl with no explanation and just let that be what it is.
Yep. Back.
Cool. Everybody.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. I do like what Casper said there. Money is the great equalizer. And it really is. Like, you can have a fucking amazing script, but if you've got no money, it's still going to come out looking a bit like, something that hasn't...
In Reading, this is super geeky for the Reading fans out there, but like there's a scene where the main character, Annabelle, in horror movies where the killer gets knocked down and the person inexplicably goes, "Oh, I'm going to investigate the body and see if then they get grabbed and all that kind of shit." And I was like, I'm going to have the anti-scene of that. I'm going to have her pick up the weapon and just go to kill the dude. And it just didn't work. Like the chain snapped and all these things just went wrong. It was this cascade of fuckery. And so we end up with one of those scenes where the fucking heroine checks the times they lurch up. And I was like, as it's happening, I'm like, well, it's this or blank screen for 5 minutes. So take your pick, kid. Pick your battles.
Yeah. And sometimes you're going to have just that moment of going, fuck, I didn't want to be here. I'd written everything to make sure I wasn't here. And yet, here I am.
What do you expect from the worst thing that happened to the Australian film industry, Quinny?
If I'd have known that, I wouldn't have invited you on the fucking podcast. The good thing is about this one, you're not even talking about the yes, Casper, the blank screen will subvert expectations.
Very subverted.
It's much like the end of Monty Python and the Holy Grail. It's they just
I still think that's brilliant because the cops come up and everyone just gets arrested by the cops. And like I thought it was brilliant. And then you see an interview with the Pythons and they're like, yeah, we just ran out of ideas. So we just kind of went, let's have the cops pull up. And I was like, I still think it was brilliant.
Yeah. I even if you guys know
whatever. Python. What do you know about comedy?
Yeah.
Miles.
Yeah, and Missy's absolutely right. Some of the greatest films come out of Aussie budgets, and we say Aussie budgets.
I mean,
You go.
I was just going to say, a lot of our greatest films, our weirdest films, our most original films have come from fuck all money. The original Mad Max, Bad Boy Bubby, Wake and Fright wasn't exactly a big budget thing. These are all great Aussie weird little films. So sometimes not having money is good. Predestination, yes, that film does not get enough love, man.
Absolutely.
Predestination.
Yeah. No, I mean. Priscilla, Predestination is one of those ones that I remember I watched that in the screening room at Sony or whatever, and I came out of it and I'm like, I really don't know what the fuck I just watched. I'm pretty sure it was impressive, but I really don't know what the fuck it was.
And when dudes like you and me say that, because we've watched films, pretty much our entire existence, like that's saying something. You might not like what it is, but it's definitely something unique.
Yeah. Yeah, Rob's like, Predestination left me feeling a bit weird. Yes,
Rob. We all feel that pretty hard.
Yeah. It's that thing where you're like, I'm not sure whether I'm meant to feel like emotionally revolted or if I'm meant to if there's some kind of weird.
Am I sad?
Is there a sex thing that I'm not sure about that I'm really uncomfortable with?
I didn't even go there, Quinny, but all right.
Yeah, no, that's look.
That's periodic table of awesome and finding out stuff that you are into that you didn't expect you were.
Yeah, absolutely. Flesh Alley. So anyway, back to your book.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah, that thing.
Sorry. Well done, Rob. Predestination.
That is pretty good. Spoilers, but pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, also true. Very much so.
Yeah. Okay, so back to the book. Like I as I said, it's pretty fucking loose.
So is the book, to be honest. I mean, or it gives the appearance of being loose anyway.
It does, and I find that interesting because I'm about 100 and something pages into it, and thoroughly actually really enjoying it. And let me tell you, I have been given other books to read where you're kind of like, oh fuck, shit, this is going to be a task to talk about with enthusiasm. But hey, Predicanga, welcome. I just finished Invincible, so he's a little bit late. Have you been watching Invincible?
Oh, girl, you know I have. Of course. Here's the weird thing about Invincible and me is I read the comics, or read a bunch of them anyway, and enjoyed them, promptly forgot them, and I mean complete, like Men in Black, zappy thing, mind wipe. And so I'm watching this now and I'm like, this is all new to me. other than the dad like killing the folks that happens in the first, 3/4 of the way through the first episode. I knew that was coming. Everything else I've completely forgotten. So
Casper, I haven't had a chance to watch tonight's episode, so if we
come
could
on,
not,
Casper.
no,
Be cool.
Yeah,
be cool, man.
Yeah, no,
Casper's cool. Casper's cool.
Yeah, only N spoilers, and spoilers. So, back to the book. Where's your cultural fucking cringe, man? Like,
here's the thing.
Aren't you meant to hate being Australian like the rest of us? Aren't you meant to be
it's
so embarrassing?
I fucking did, because as you are, I imagine, I grew up weaned on sucking on the nipple of American popular culture, imbibing that sweet, sweet saccharine milk. And I found the Australian accents embarrassing. I found our obsession with beach culture, being a very pale man, particularly confusing. I'm deeply uncoordinated. So sport never made much of an impact on me. Well, I mean, I got hit a lot, so it made a literal impact, but in terms of emotional connection.
Yes.
But very much physically. But here's the thing. I sort of got a bit older, and I started kind of digging into things that were maybe a little bit left of center and a bit kind of a bit off the beaten track. Okay. And we have a wealth of amazing, and some of our mainstream stuff's good too, but we have a wealth of oddball cinematic offerings that I think really do kind of stand the test of time, and they are worthy. I mean, it actually takes people like Quentin Tarantino in Not Quite Hollywood, where he's kind of like uncovering these Aussie gems that many Australians haven't seen, and he's all like excited and like, yeah, you could release that in the cinema tomorrow, like in that way that Quentin does, all kind of movement.
Where he's super fucking excited about stuff, and you're like,
and he just loves it, and it's kind of we've got some great stuff there. It's a little well hidden sometimes, I will say that.
It is. Like I'm just gonna while we're talking about this,
I mean, what can you say?
So, like, this is one of those ones that you kind of brought up as something that means something to you, like that is a cultural touchstone. What about Bad Boy Bubby is a moment for you? Is that one of those ones that you're like, okay, the world?
Bad Boy Bubby is such a deeply and abidingly unique film. It's so unique in any context. I mean, it's got incest, murder, animal killing, cockroach eating, rape, and yet, despite that, and kind of as it goes on, it ends up being this almost transcendent experience as this weird kid in a grown man's body sort of becomes free and part of the world and finds love and understanding and all that kind of stuff. It's like a really fucked up version of Being There, the Peter Sellers film. It's like Being There if there was just a bunch more incest and cat killing. And for me, like, I like when stuff is flavored with a little, murder and weirdness. I don't know why, but I just do. I like it when those kind of stories happen, and it just comes on, and it's slow, but then you sort of look back at it after you've watched it, and so much has happened. Nicholas Hope, who ended up being Red in Red Ink, to my delight, nice. But he is this is his sort of first big role, and he's just this amazing natural, just a unique talent, such a great character. I'm sorry, I'm just getting lost in this film because it's so wonderful. If you haven't seen Bad Boy Bubby, maybe like read some stuff first, because maybe you don't want to see it. But it is just a wild.
It could
film.
Be a tough one to come into. In a big way. I found it interesting, actually. Sorry, that fucking thing is making noises in my ears. Go away. I recently, Wednesday night, went to a screening of an anthology of 6 short horror films.
Dead House Dark or something like that.
That's the ones. Yep.
Okay.
And so I went along to just check that out because I'd done a panel with them up in at Supernova, and Nicholas Hope again in one of those, and I was like, yeah, right, okay. It's interesting seeing that history of Australian sort of weird genre.
I like to think that Red Ink got him more in the door for horror films. I have no idea if that's true, but I choose to believe it. And I spent 10 years hating anything that came out of Australia. And I feel you. I think the 90s changed a lot of people's opinions. The 90s, you had stuff like Strictly Ballroom, which I know is quite mainstream, but it was a very unique kind of, it really exaggerated the ghastliness and the kind of over-the-top camp that we sometimes face every day. And I think it kind of did that quite cleverly.
I think one of my pet peeves, hates, whatever, is the film Australia.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Like it, not because it's necessarily, a awful film or anything. It's got some talent behind the making of it or anything.
Sure.
But what I find so offensive about it is that it actively goes out of its way to avoid anything interesting about Australia.
It's true.
It's true. It goes for the single most obvious, collection of stereotypes. And
if you didn't know Baz Luhrmann made that film, you would think an American made that film. You would think that an American, tell me about Aussies, and he's like his guy, his personal assistant or whatever runs out and like Wikipedia's Australia and shit, and like picks the top 10 most obvious things, and it's like, what about that? And it's such a beautifully made film with like really decent performances in service of a script that just I don't know. Was it for us? Was it for Australians? Was it for Americans? I don't know who it was.
I don't know. So that actually leads me to the question about your book, Straya.
Okay. Yeah.
Who's it for? Because as an Australian reading
Good question. Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed it, and there's a part of me where I'm like, I know this place, I know these people, and I know all these words. Who did you write it for?
I wrote it for me and people like me, but I don't want to mean that in an exclusionary way. But I wrote that because it's the kind of story that I've had. It's the specific story I've had in my head for a long time, like really like decades kind of thing. The specifics have changed over the time, but the Australian aspect is very much like, if something like Australia is a mainstream mind's idea of what Australia is, Straya is the indie, weird, stuck in a basement for 6 years version of what Australia is all about. Like there's a lot of malice and hideousness in Australia, and there's a lot of horrifying characters and really just demented people over here. And I wanted to kind of boil that in a kind of perfect storm and have a main character who, unlike Max, say, who can actually fight, is just really nice and quite good at jumping. I wanted a character who was really ill-suited to deal with a place like this and see how, I guess, because in some ways I've often felt ill-suited to deal with a place like this, being, as aforementioned, bad at the sport and the sun, that whole thing.
Yeah. Sorry, if Missy's gone in with it, like Missy is a hard interviewer.
It's a fair question.
Why are you the guy that gets to say what Australia is?
I guess I can only say that I'm saying what Australia is to me, and that's the experience that I've had, and that's how it feels from my perspective. And I kind of wanted to explore that in a way that was lyrical and entertaining, and I hopefully recognizable in some ways, because it is kind of a fractured, slightly twisted version of what already exists. You've got the inner city becomes the inner city. And, and stuff like George Street becomes Gorge Street. And so everything's just a bit degraded and a bit mental and a bit, just a bit worse.
Where is Flesh Alley?
I've been asked this a lot, and because my fellow geeks are quite into stuff like maps and stuff, they want specifics. But this book is set like a few hundred years hence, And if you think about how much the city has changed in 10 years, it's really going to have changed in 300 years. So it's a lot of them aren't specific places. A lot of them are kind of just they're more the emotional idea of something or how something felt. But I did like the idea of a sex worker district that was kind of revered. And I guess, I mean, in some ways it must be the Cross, because I've spent a lot of time in the Cross. I lived there for many years. But geographically, it's nowhere near where the Cross is. So I guess it's my,
It's the love letter to the Cross.
It's a love letter, but the Cross of old. I mean, the Cross now is kind of yes, we all are missing.
We all did, yeah.
The Cross of old, when it was a bit cheerier, and I mean, I guess it wasn't cheery if you were a drug addict and going through terrible things, but it was a livelier looking place. You could sort of end up at a bar at 3 a.m. talking crap to a stranger, and then snogging on the roof, and then wondering why you didn't get their number, and then spending years regretting that. For instance,
I was going to say,
just as a rough example,
not digging into any.
So that's kind of I mean, the Cross was amazing. We all have Cross stories. We all have adventures that we got into. When they were shooting, because my first film, Angst, was set in King's Cross, because I was just like, I'm going to write about me. And I was coming home from a club one night, and the video shop that I worked at, because of course I worked in the video shop.
Of course, holy shit, man! The best part about this. Sorry, no, you finish yours. I'll come back to it.
I'm walking back from the club, and I'm as you are coming back from a club, and the video shop I used to work at had been changed to the video shop from the script. And like they dressed the exterior, so they changed it from In Video, which was the name of the real store, to Video Boy, with the Video Boy mascot, which was like a video guy. And I didn't know they'd done this, so I felt like I'd walked from the club again, going hard. I thought I'd walked into my own like imagination, because I'm like, oh shit, this is bad. Yeah, I know some of the stuff I imagine. I don't want to do this. This is not good.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Angel Devil 89's never been to the Cross. It's true. I am a bitch ass bitch. It's
good.
Very true. I'm glad someone said it. It was It was the bitch ass bitch in the room.
No, the reason I laugh about it. A friend of mine wrote a short story not long before I moved up to Sydney here. Oh, no, just after moving up to Sydney. I can't remember. Anyway, guy whose name is Dirk Flintheart.
I'm familiar, actually. I got a like little brightly
How
colored
to Be His
book.
Man?
Yeah.
How to Be a Man, or whatever it is?
No, it was like a little crime book, if memory serves, from like the 90s.
Yep. Yeah, that sounds like him. So he lived with John Birmingham up in Queensland and stuff like that, and is a character in the Tasmanian Babes fiasco, and he died with the falafel in his hand and stuff.
I love that book too.
Like, anytime that there's somebody who did something fucking crazy, like chainsawed the legs off a house or something like that, it's this guy.
That's the guy. Okay.
Yeah, and he is a lovely, large American man, which you do not expect. And he wrote a short story, and he was like, I'm going to write it about you, Quinny. It's going to be about an overweight vampire who, is disappointed and shitty because, he figured that when he was going to become a vampire, everything was going to become better and you're going to be your best self. Nah. So he's stuck in his, balding mid-30s and now early 40s working in a video store at night and playing D&D with his mates and stuff like that. And this short story. And as soon as you said that you lived in the Cross and worked at a video store, I was like, fuck, it's not just me. It's actually an entire subgenre.
Oh yeah. Like that was, I mean, at the time I'd bitch and complain about it, but in retrospect, I adored those video shop years.
Man,
so much.
I fucking love video shops, and
I miss video shops so hard. Hey,
yeah, like the joy of being able to walk up and down aisles and having a cover just pop out at you, and you think that looks fucking terrible.
Yeah,
I'm gonna watch it.
Like when they did like covers that I don't know if you remember Fright Night 2, not the remake of Fright Night 2, but the original Fright Night 2. It came in like a coffin-shaped video cassette.
I do, yes.
Oh man, so good.
Yeah,
so good.
I still like have a weird fear reaction to sorry, to Moon Through the Clouds, because I think it was Fright Night 1. The cover for Fright Night 1 was this face in the clouds.
Yeah, that's right.
And yeah, utterly fucking terrified me as a kid. And so now anytime I see the Moon Through the Clouds, there's a little part of me that gets a frisson of fear.
I'm so disappointed in covers now. Like I really think that I tried to address that a bit with the cover for Straya, which is wonderful by Aussie artist Chris Wall. It was just
I'm gonna bring it up again because this is important that you all see this shit. I'm going to go full screen on that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, everything on that cover actually happens. Is the thing.
Okay.
So I wanted to do something that, you know how like you'd go to the video shop and you'd see the great cover, and then you take it home, and you're like, well, this is bullshit. None of these things happened. I want no, all of these things occur in this book. You'll meet all these people. That stuff will happen.
What I do want to know is just gonna zoom in here, and what are you doing here? Why are you on the cover of your own fucking book?
Real funny, Quinny, real funny. Just because a bloke's got long hair and a beard and has a malevolent evil twinkling in his dark eyes and teeth filed into points.
Yeah.
So
what kind of a Darrow are you, mate?
Jesus,
Darrow.
This was Chris Wall actually doing the artist who did this cover, actually doing a self-portrait. And every one of my friends came up and said, this is you son of a bitch, you did it. And I said, Chris, did you get a picture of me on Facebook and do this? And he goes, no, that's me. And I was like, oh, well, there you go.
Oh, shit, so he put himself on the cover.
This is just what artists of a certain temperament look like, I'm afraid, people. We're hairy, we're pasty, we have twinkling dark malevolence in our eyes, and that's okay.
Okay. So I just want to ask about this guy up here. Were you a big fan of Fist of the North Star?
I mean, sure. Not to the point where that was a deliberate reference. Like I said to Chris, we just want sort of a leather masked weirdo with boils and whatnot. So he may well be, if that's a sort of reference point. I would like to point out while we're here, just under his on his chest, you can see the Southern Cross tattoo. Yes, which was a detail that was very important to me, and I think Chris realised it beautifully.
Scoot across, see if we can get him nice and close.
I just really wanted that Southern Cross tattoo to really sing out on his puckered, diseased flesh.
Which I think is very, very important.
Very important.
I did enjoy that little brief moment where it was like, and I think the description is something about the Southern Cross tattoo sliding into a woman, or like it's the Southern Cross is bending somebody over or something. And
yeah. It's something of that nature. Something very, very rude.
Yeah.
I don't care for it.
Oh, sorry. My apologies. I'll get rid of it then. Look, I love the cover. I think the cover is so fucking cool. Yeah. And I love that it is this sort of, it is a throwback. It feels like the painted covers. Like I love that it's a painting, and I love that it has this sort of real pulpy vibe. But at the same time, I'm like, I want to see these characters. I want to get to know them. I want to know where we're going with it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's it's a throwback to the style, but it's not like, look, I love those 80s, 70s and 80s kind of trashy horror paperbacks and whatnot. But and I love their energy, and I love just the unpretentious glee with which they embrace stories. I love that so much. But some of them are super sexist and racist by like 2021 standards. It's just like you're reading them, and I'm not like, you know, team gets offended by everything kind of guy. I'm really not. But you read some of those and you're like, damn, I'm just gonna try and skip over that paragraph. Oh, it's still going. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So it's a modern story with I don't want to say modern sensibilities because it's set in the future, but it's not embracing maybe every gonzo aspect of that. It's very violent, but there's a real heart to it.
Yeah. Actually, that is a thing that I was interested about, because like there is some of the language that you use does have moments where you kind of like, oh Jesus, you know, when referring to sex workers as prosies.
Yeah.
You know, there are moments where you're like, I know that that's a particular bit of language or whatever, but there is a moment where you're like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, you know, absolutely. And that's sort of important. I remember the editor I had on this book, a woman by the name of Samantha Sainsbury, she would send me notes after she'd kind of read various bits, and she sort of got through the first sort of 30 pages and she goes, well, thus far I've met one woman and she's a sex worker. Great.
Yeah.
You know, sort of frowny face. And then sort of later on, and she was very keen that, you know, this wasn't going to be the kind of novel that's just shitty dude nonsense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she's realized later on that that is just the harsher language of the time, and she's sort of got it. So you've kind of got to swallow a bit of that at the start. It's also Frank is a mutant, and people just refer to him as a monster like really casually, and that's the most offensive kind of thing you can say to someone at the time. So there's a lot of stuff about people being disenfranchised and being talked down to and being talked about in ways that are quite derogatory. It can maybe stick in your craw at first, but I promise you, I'm going somewhere with it. You will see by the end you're on a journey that will, you know, take you. I'm not saying that it'll take you and it'll take you to good places, through some bad places. You'll take a few alleys that'll be nasty, and there's one bit that, oof, but by the end of it, you'll be like, okay.
Yeah. So, okay, tell me about Franga. Like, I mean, the moment you read that name, you're like, huh.
So, Franga began life as a very different character. I think Franga was probably originally meant to be a bit more like me, because he was very cynical and kind of not really a people person, and just like to sort of snark quietly to himself and kind of roll his eyes at people and that kind of stuff. And yet, because I'd sort of put him in a position where he has to look after 12 mutant children and an increasingly senile father figure who's literally losing his mind, he just kept expressing kindness in ways. I hate it when writers talk about their creation and they're like, oh, and it gripped me as if by magic, and suddenly I was enraptured by the magic of my words. But it literally happens.
The character runs away without you.
The character runs away without me, right? But it seriously kept happening like that. Like, I'd be at the end of the scene, and instead of Franga saying, you know, something kind of pithy and witty, and he still does. Like, he's a bit of a smartass, but he was much more glib and cynical. And eventually, it just didn't feel right that he was. So he sort of became this he's deeply kind. And when he doesn't necessarily, he hasn't come from an environment where you think that would happen. And I found that, and I think because I was writing it in such sort of tumultuous times, I think I found that more revolutionary than if he had been this kind of, you know, subversive, cynical, you know, cynic.
Cynicism's easy.
It's really easy, and that's why I do it. But you know, like it's also it's the most knee-jerk response to a situation. You kind of roll your eyes and go, yeah, great. And you know, you and I are of a similar age and grew up in the 90s, so we embrace slackness and cynicism, I'm sure, as much as anyone else. But there is a time when you've kind of got to move past it, or at least have some moments of sweetness in between the snark, I guess.
I'm a big I am a big fan of nostalgia. I'm a big fan of kindness, and you know, being unashamedly loving. And I think there is a lot to be said for that, because the world is pretty fucking cold and hard.
Yeah. I feel like love is a revolutionary act now, like to actually just to admit that you have feelings, and sometimes it's good to feel good, and being with other people sometimes feels good, except when they talk in movies. Seriously, you can all fucking die. But other than that, it's good.
Yeah.
That's right. So that to me felt like a more subversive act than having a character who was just glib endlessly. And by the way, there's a lot of real bad motherfuckers in Straya. So if you're looking for bad motherfuckers, it's chockers. It's chockers with them.
Yeah. So earlier on, Missy asked that question. Do you think it was?
Yeah.
So your editor, Australian or American?
She's Australian. She's a Melbourne person. I'm not sure an American editor would have known what the fuck they were reading. I got to be honest. Like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me that because I guess America is the prevalent pop culture zeitgeist, I guess everyone looks to them. So Americans aren't very good at understanding other people's slang or colloquialisms or anything like that. So Americans tend to get very confused. I mean, Americans had Train Spotting with subtitles, and not just the scene in the club. They had subtitles the way through. Mad Max 2, called The Road Warrior in America, in the 80s, had an American voice revoice. Like, the whole film was revoiced with Americans. That's how open to other accents and voices and vernacular Americans are. So unless it was a very well-traveled American, I really do think they probably would have been quite baffled. Here we go.
Yeah.
Now, I love Fury Road as much as the next everyone, but good Lord, this film is what? Look at this. I mean, everything is amazing. You've got a bloke introducing the bad. He's like a hype man. And there he is.
And there he is.
Who's this fucking guy? Where'd he come from?
Chockers with the good shit. Absolutely.
And then you got the feral kids and these poor bastards, and he's all like, yeah, I got a fucking skunk on my head or whatever. Shut up, mate. It's my bit.
Yeah.
He's like, anyway.
Yeah, get your fingers out of my mouth, Chief. Jesus. And what's that wig? So how much of this kind of stuff was an inspiration or something that you kind of...
look, the humongous, in particularly the guy in the cover, was a big inspiration on Straya, absolutely. I think, to me, the fun of it was taking something pre-existing, like your Mad Max type of world, and introducing a note of unexpectedness to kind of like, oh, well, let's just say there's a Mad Max, and then later on there's like a monster that comes into it. And I'm like, well, let's have a guy that's good at theater to be the guy. And I think that, I don't know, it's to me, it kind of speaks to that Australian tall story or the yarn spinner where everything's sort of unexpected. Oh God, I love that so much. I'm getting distracted by my love for this film.
Yeah.
It so knows what it is. See, this would never have been made by Americans, because the Americans would be like, yeah, why do they have bondage gear in the desert? What, like, wouldn't they just wear like loose fitting clothes? It's weird. Why does he have a ferret on his head?
Wouldn't they wear white?
Where are they getting the gas from? There's so much gas. We wouldn't have so much gas. And but Australia is just like, yeah, no, mate.
Fucking go for it. I also love the fact that this is a follow-up to, Mad Max. Mad Max, which has none of this shit.
None of it.
Like, the first Mad Max is a proto Fast and the Furious. It's about, let's talk about cars and car culture.
it's he gets his kid and he gets his missus killed, and the kid gets killed, I think, or maybe it's just the missus. And then they do lots of car chases. Yep. But it's more like Cessnock on a bad day. It's not like civilization has collapsed, it's just like a rough suburb.
Yeah.
And then at the start of this one, they're like, oh yeah, and then they drop the bombs. Like, all right, Jesus. Yeah. Okay.
I remember looking, I watched the end of the first Mad Max because I was like, I have to know where the fuck where was the shift? How did we get from that movie to this movie?
Yeah.
And there isn't one. It's just like I mean, somehow the Emperor came back. It's one of those moments.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Yeah.
From Singleton. I'm sorry, by the way, for Cessnock. Cessnock for me is a place where I got beaten up a lot. So I have very complicated feelings towards it. But for all the people who live in Cessnock and are nice and don't beat up pasty guys because they like reading, then you're all right by me. Like, it's totally fine. It's just my shorthand for like a place that is scary and bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, that was Bernie, essentially.
Bernie's a place?
Yeah, Bernie is a place, and it's a place of terror and darkness. And
yeah, right.
Yeah. So you've seen your work adapted on the screen, like you've written scripts and everything. Is there any little fiery bit of your heart that goes, "Fuck, I'd love to see Australia to show up on the screen"?
Not a small bit. It's a huge bit, obviously. I mean, I'd love to write the screenplay for this. I'd love to do I guess this is of the time, but I feel like it could make a great series. I mean, I don't know if you're at the bit yet where you're kind of like, oh, this could make a good series, because it's still, the first 100 pages are basically an insane fever dream, and then it takes a breath, and then the next 100 pages are also an insane fever dream, but it takes a breath in the middle.
Yeah, I think I've just hit the point where they've met up with the Darrows, who the Jesus Darrow.
Oh yeah, shit's about to kick off, baby.
Yeah, and look, I loved it. I'm a theatre kid. That's part of
okay, cool.
Like, very, very much so. So this character, who is a theatre person, who is not a fighter. He's a run the fuck away and survive another day kind of guy.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, cool. Okay, I'm into him. And then I'm loving the world building, because some of my favorite games in the last however many years, whatever, Fallout. What I love about that is that it makes the apocalypse weird and wonderfully weird. It's like, everybody's wearing fucking weird shit. They're just wearing a radiator on their
These
head.
guys are 1950s greasers, and these guys, have a bowling alley that's working and run by robots. And,
absolutely. And the apocalypse was a bad time for pretty much everybody. But you know what? Some people didn't mind it.
Yeah, I knew with Straya I didn't want to get too realistic. I mean, I wanted it to have a sense of veracity in itself and have rules that it follows. But I didn't want to write a 300-page book about people fighting over water and food. Like, there are systems in place so that is an issue, and they've got to feed themselves and whatnot. But I didn't want that to be the whole. I didn't want it to be like The Road, which is an insanely brilliant book that I will never read again, because it is just morbidly depressing to the point where you're just like, it's fine.
Yeah.
Bullshit. Yeah, I mean, it's wonderful.
But I just kill myself.
Yeah, I just didn't want to do that, man. Like, it's about people losing hope and then maybe finding a glimmer of it. But I didn't want it to be a slog, and I didn't want it to be a dirge. It had to be fun, had to be engaging. Bad shit had to happen, obviously. Like, it's not like laughs from top to bottom. But
yeah, and it's funny. Like, a few years ago, I saw a play here in Sydney. That I would fucking love to do, and I wish it had been filmed or something, because I just want everybody to see it. Yeah. It was called Mr. Burns. I think I'll see if I can actually find it. There it is. Called Mr. Burns, a post-electric play. So,
I think I remember that when it was out. I think I had friends either in it or were big enough or something like that.
Yeah, so I'll just share this so you can see what I'm talking about. So it is based on The Simpsons.
Oh my God.
But it's post-apocalyptic. And actually that's probably the best way to describe it. In the first act, it is just after... there's a trailer? Sweet. It is just after the first, not the bombs have dropped, but after shit's gone wrong.
Yeah.
The apocalypse is happening. So these guys are survivors. They're just trying to get by in the world, and the way that they get by is by telling each other or remembering bits out of different episodes of The Simpsons.
Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah. And they're going, oh, do you remember that bit where it does that bit? Yeah. And then that's the first act, and it's tense because there are people trying to survive and shit. Then the second act turns into this weird thing, 50, 100 years later.
Yeah.
This is really nothing like the one I watch. Where, like, now The Simpsons and the trade in The Simpsons moments and memories has become a part of society. So people are wandering theatre troupes recreating episodes of The Simpsons, and there's a trade in lines. Who can remember a particular line from a particular episode or whatever?
Yeah, wow. I love that. I love that so hard.
Yeah, this is the one I saw. Yeah. And then the third episode, the third act or whatever, is another 500 years down the thing, and it's become a religion. And it's like become this very strange belief system that you have to do the right things and say the right words and all sorts of shit. It is amazing. And I just got so many little elements of that from you or from Straya.
Yeah.
So actually, Angels Devils is making a very, very important question here.
Where can we pick up Straya? Well, it actually, I realized this today because we're officially launching on May 8th, because May. But it soft launches now. Like, what time is it now? In like 2 hours. I think at midnight. You better pick it up on Amazon or Kobo or Abe's Books or literally every like bookseller, online bookseller. You can pick it up. It's on Kindle and other ebook ones, the EPUB ones, Kobo and whatnot. Also in physical form, you can pick it up from a bunch of places. And there's an audio book that comes out on May 8th. That actually does come out on May 8th. And you can pick it up from the usual audiobook places.
Audiobook, I'm intrigued by too. Like, tell me a bit about that. Like, how does one do an audiobook in this day and age?
Well, I tell you, we got a guy called Justin Smith, who was one of the stars of Angst way back in 2000. He played the sort of Westy flatmate of the main character,
right? And
was sort of remained in contact over the years. And so we got him to do this, and it took a little bit of explaining. As you can imagine. But we got there in the end, except we came a cropper when we had to, there's on the Audible thing, you can upload, see, look, it's everywhere.
Yeah, look at this
you
shit.
can, you had to get a section for the Audible, the audiobook, and it's like a 3-minute section. But one of the rules was no swearing. Now, technically speaking, Australia does not have swearing more than shit, because all the other words are kind of homophones of others. So people call each other cunts.
That's a terrible word to say.
They say cunts a lot, which is C-U-N-C-E, and that's like a both, as it is in Australian culture, it is both an insult and a friendly gesture. And fug is F-U-G or F-U-G-G-E-N, which is, oh, look, I've made a sale. Boom.
You have.
There it is. Yep. One at a time. I'll get you one at a time. I will stay on this feed until every one of you has a copy.
Yeah.
Even if it takes the rest of my life.
Yeah. Look, I already sold one today. I had your book, your cover open on my desktop.
Yeah, right.
And somebody said, "What's that? It looks amazing." And I said, "It's a book called Straya." And he's like, what's that about? And I gave him the brief rundown. Now, this is my friend Miguel, who English is, he's been speaking English for a long time, but has a very thick Spanish accent and loves being educated on Australian slang.
Oh,
and
boat
so
just came in.
Yeah, and I was just like, "This is amazing. This is he." And he was like, "Sweet, tell me where I can get it. I will buy it." I think people are going to love it, man. I hope so. There is something very, very enjoyable about it.
Cool. I mean, yeah, it is at its core. I mean, there's social commentary, but it is at its core a cracking read that you're meant to have fun with, and that's its primary focus. There's sort of subtext and all the rest, but at its very DNA, it just wants you to have a good time and a rollicking adventure. And it's the kind of thing I'd like to read, but it doesn't tend to get a lot of books that get made in Australia. I'm gonna be nice about this because I genuinely love a lot of Australian writers, but we get a lot of small towns, secrets in a small town, cops in a small town, solving the secrets in a small town with the small town, and that's great, and I think that's cool, and it really is. I mean, some of them are fabulous, but I think there's room for weird. There's room for weird in all our stuff, and there's room for post-apocalyptic tales that aren't miserable. And there's room for action stories where people are bad at violence. I think I think that's there's a place for these left of center stories.
Yeah,
I mean, look,
absolutely.
We came up with Razorback in Australia. We didn't have Jaws, mate. We had bloody Razorback, which is a movie about a giant pig. And the scariest thing about Razorback isn't the giant pig at all. At all. It's the locals. It's very Wake and Fright, actually, because a sort of city guy kind of gets caught up with these real, oh yeah, come out, I'm gonna hunt some pigs, mate, righto. And they wake him up in the morning, and he's in this desert. He's hallucinating. He's like, wakey, hands off, snakey. And I just, as a kid, I'm just watching this. I'm like, what is this movie? Like, they try to frame it like it's Jaws, but it is a peyote trip through the dark heart of the Australian desert with a giant pig just lobbing up every now and then. Yeah.
Amazing. But also directed by Russell Mulcahy, who is one of my favorite directors.
I mean, look at this. It's so just every scene is like, that's not an abattoir, that's a goth club with blood. Like it's just everything about it is so. And there's the pig. And the American woman with the world's largest camera.
Yeah, yes. And yeah, we have seen some other films that have tried to go back to that,
Sure.
War. Where is it about a big pig? Yeah, it is about a big pig. But really what you're trying to be here is it's an exploration about Australia. And also you've got to have a director in there who really knows what the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah, I feel like Russell had a real sense of how weird this country is in some ways, and beautiful as well. And with a culture, an indigenous culture that is the longest living continuous culture, we have amazing stuff here, but we also have some shit weird stuff and odd behaviors and odd characteristics. I think this was after Crocodile Dundee. I could be wrong. I think there was an Australian explosion of cinema that sort of tried to capitalize on things. Okay, Razorback was 84. Crocodile Dundee was 86. I'm sorry, Razorback was before Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah, right. But then again, as you say, there was in the 80s this kind of push for the Australian thing. I don't know whether it's on the tail end of Wake and Fright or what, where there was the thing that Tarantino got so excited about.
Yeah.
This Australian horror, Australian Gothic, if you will.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
Ozploitation.
I will.
Yes.
But I do like Australian Gothic. I feel it very clear. These guys are amazing.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, I'm not going to say it's a good film because it is this such a weird mixture. And the pig, has not aged well, but it is just in terms of Australiana, it is a fascinating film. It kind of really encapsulates the weirdness in ways that I find really appealing.
Right. So in the chat, my darlings, I have put a link in. So if you've got questions and you actually want to join in the conversation, the link is there, and I will be able to add you in, and you can ask questions directly of Anth. all, we can just talk about Australian movies. We can talk about whatever the fuck you want to talk about. But yeah, look, I love it when Australia isn't afraid to be weird. So, something like Getting Square, you know, it's
David Wenham in that is just superb.
He's so fucking good, and at the same time, so totally terrible. And
there's a character in Straya called Pisshead Michael, so called because he's a drunk, but also his hair is the color of urine, and he was absolutely David Wenham's character in Getting Square was absolutely who I was thinking about when I was writing him. He's like a real, just like, what, mate? Yeah. Just that, and just...
I can't even... Who's going to pay for me fucking bus pass?
Yeah.
We had Wenham at Supernova recently, and that is on the Gold Coast, which just made it feel all the more fucking...
So authentic. Authentic.
Right, okay, we've got Missy here. How you doing, Missy?
Hello.
Hello.
How you doing? How's things?
I turned the lights. I actually turned the lights on for you.
Yeah,
Thank you. We appreciate it. The lights are on.
Bit of effort. That's what we like to see.
I'm trying to wear my cool hats, but I've got my headphones on. I'm very self-conscious. Just want to put that out there.
Okay. Oh, that's okay. I know you. You know me. We're all good.
Yeah, I know you know me, but all these other people who don't. So yeah, you do you.
They're cool too.
They are, absolutely. So, Missy, what's your favourite Australian film?
I am very much in love with Cargo. So I was a student of, film back in the early 90s and blah, blah, blah. And I was very much of the castle is fuck you, fuck Australia, blah, blah, blah. And I really rallied against it. And so films like The Piano, I was like, oh, that's so, studenty for me to be appreciative of. And then I realized I was an absolute wanker. And,
it happens to us all eventually.
Yeah, no, I realized quite quickly. I just went, oh, you're going to have to appreciate Australian cinema. And Cargo was probably, in the last 12 months, a film that came out for me that just floored me, absolutely floored me. And thank you for, putting that out there. I didn't realize that Martin Freeman was doing a film in Australia at the time. And I think that he probably didn't have enough exposure to the Indigenous cultures that were involved in the production of this film. But I kind of wish he did. And, again, me as a, wannabe film student has gone, oh, that's ace. And then gone like, oh, a fucking white guy's turned up and, tried to,
white savior business.
Make something significant out of an Indigenous experience. And I'm like, oh, well, that was cool. I'm still really white.
Yeah.
I did feel like the Indigenous aspect of that film was the story that I wanted to see the most. So I was like, wait, so they're just chilling with the zombies and then hunting them when they need to and burning stuff. I'm like, why can't we follow that story? That story seems awesome.
Yeah.
But maybe that voice will be heard, sometime soon, I hope. But yeah.
Yeah. I got really excited about it because, like I said, Martin Freeman is an actor that I'm very excited about. But then I went like, oh, he would have had to have spent some time out in the bush with Indigenous culture, and I don't think that was represented in what we ended up seeing on film.
No, I think that's correct. I think it was a bit of a missed opportunity. I think Cargo started life as a short film. It was a wonderful short film, won a bunch of awards, and then got blown up to feature, and there's definitely stuff that they could have, because that was such a tantalizingly well-written, well-observed subplot, and I'm like, I want more of that.
But,
yeah.
Still a good film. Don't get me wrong, it's a good film.
So,
okay, that was really important. Is that it did come out as a very short film, and then they made it into a longer one, and they didn't hit the right beats. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely. Casper, Rob, welcome. How you doing, guys?
Hello.
Evening.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man. Good. So, where are you at with cultural cringe in Australia? Do you watch Australian films?
Cultural cringe in Australia. Cool. Let's go.
I'll give Aussie. I give Aussie films a go as much as I can. I think I've still got Babadook still waiting on my shelf to be watched. So.
Oh yeah, good.
But I
love the Babadook. Babadook's great.
I don't know.
Yeah,
it never struck me. Babadook.
No.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what it is with Babadook. It was just like, I guess maybe that was the whole point.
I think
unsettling.
That's an essentially feminist kind of thing that has to happen. Is that anyone who is like existentially feminist has to do the Babadook? Because it's very much a queer culture thing. It's very much transcendent kind of stuff. It's like, if you're gonna do the Babadook, like, you really need to fucking all in on that.
Okay, I'm not. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure I agree with that, because I think that the Babadook is it's a story. It's a horror story, and it's a story that can be for anyone. But Casper, you're saying it just didn't quite work for you, or?
Yeah. I liked, for example, I preferred Mama, that was done by
the It guy, the guy who ended up doing It.
Yeah. Oh, now I'm gonna have to look it up.
Yeah,
but something like that where it's I don't know. I guess
Andre Machete, or
Muschietti, or whatever.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Whereas I love something like that over Babadook. But
I always find that like horror is so subjective. Like, you can literally have very similar people watch the same film and have completely disparate, more than I think most genres. I think comedy and horror are the two most divisive of genres. Like, like action films, most people are like, yeah, it's good action, but people will disagree until they die about what is scary and what is funny. Those are the two things people can never agree on.
Okay. Yeah.
But I would have to say one of my favorite Australian films is Daybreakers.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
It's a good
I love that film. It's like probably my favorite vampire flick of all time as well.
Yeah, right.
That's it.
Yeah,
like,
that gets nowhere near enough love, right? Like, that is so underrated.
Have done some fucking phenomenal shit.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've got the two, the brothers directing. Who? What was their first one? Undead.
Yeah.
Like,
which I didn't love. I was like the one guy that didn't like it. I was like, yeah. And then I just adored the hell out of
the one guy, like, you standing out in the parade. Yeah,
that was. They kicked me out.
Yeah. But yeah, like I thought Undead was a fun film, made on the budget of sweet fuck all.
Yeah.
And then you kind of, so I think they followed it up with Daybreakers, wasn't it?
Was it the second one? It was such a jump in quality, right? Like, it was just so.
I have so much fucking love for these guys. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It went Undead, Daybreakers. That's 6 years later. That is such a jump, man. And then Predestination, which we've been talking about. And then
seriously, if you're gonna start talking about Predestination, like, give me fucking half an hour.
Nope.
Nope. Not gonna do that. Imagine if we did, though. Imagine if we were just like, fuck it, guys. Let's.
Everybody just
half an hour dead air.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying that is like absolutely one of my fucking favorite films. that they've ever done.
It's a good one.
I love the fact that we do have a bunch of people, and this is something I ran into like the other night when I went to check out this Dead House Dark thing. There is a lot of people who are into making genre film in Australia, but for a long time we were, told by funding bodies or whatever, no, don't go there. We don't fund genre. We're not interested in that.
Dude, I got a note after I tried, attempt number fucking 500 to get a horror film up before it actually happened, and the guy just said, "Yeah, Australia doesn't do horror," and I'm like,
"Are you kidding?
Have you seen the films we've made?
Australia does the best horror."
Damn straight.
Go on.
And that was a real prevailing attitude. I mean, to be honest, it felt like no one was doing sort of Mad Max type stories. And I even in an interview with Blunt Mag was like, yeah, they weren't making these kind of stories, so I wanted to write one. And then the next fucking day, Furiosa gets announced for making me both happy because it's happening and also looking like the dumbest motherfucker because it was happening. So that was a bittersweet day. They're not going to make another big budget film like Mad Max Fury Road. I'm telling you right now. Dun, dun. Womp womp.
Wow.
Am I literally sitting in a room of amazing producers that are just not getting their shit made? Is that
probably?
This is
honestly
really
probably.
Cool.
I don't know.
No, but I just feel like you guys have all got really fantastic ideas, and you're just not getting them made.
I don't know. I mean, Casper, are you a writer? Do you have creative?
Oh no, not even slightly. I am not a creative person, unfortunately.
Well, not Casper then.
Okay, sorry, Casper. We're just going to have to remove you. I'm sorry.
Sorry, mate. You had a good run, but
this is you are the weakest link. Rob, you'd better have a real good answer, otherwise it's you're next on the chopping block too. Tell me about your creativity.
I'm the intern to the intern.
Creatives.
Sorry, what's that, Rob? You're the intern.
I'm the intern to the intern.
Oh shit!
So I'm so far down.
No, I think there are a lot of creative people out there, but whether or not they're hanging around on Twitch streams on Friday night, I don't know. Maybe
do you, Quinny? Do you have like a backlog of? I meant to ask you this before, actually. Do you have a backlog of stories or concepts that you want to sort of see treated in some fashion?
Yes and no. I have. See, I'm actually in the process of trying to write a fucking comic book and have been for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm in a position where a friend who's involved with the comic book company literally came to me and went, I've got an anthology thing that I'm doing. I would like you to, I want you to have a go at it. And for fucking 6 months, I have just bashed my head against a wall in terms of what's the story I want to tell.
Don't you just hate that?
It's
every
so
other day of the week, you could be spewing out 1,000,001 ideas, and then when you got to sit down at that bloody typewriter, mine goes blank.
Well, and the thing is, I had an idea.
I'm gonna fucking slam it back in Quinny. What is stopping you?
My fucking brain, Missy. My brain is stopping me because I've written one concept and sent it back to them, and they were like, this is really great, but it's also not an 8-page comic. You've written a really complicated fucking thing that is not going to go on 8 pages and maybe would fit on 30. And yes, and I don't want to be branded the worst thing to happen to the Australian comic book industry.
It's true. That shit'll stick with you for a while.
You don't want to be.
What about the vampire one? You could, that sounds like a decent 8-page little. You'd have to talk to Dirk though, I suppose.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's not mine. That's somebody else writing about me. And what I'm trying to find the thing that says, okay, this is what I want to say. And like the story that I wrote is a story very much about. I guess I was trying to write in 2 streams at once, and one of them is about a relationship happening between 2 people, and then the other thing is about a worldwide alien invasion, but the idea that the alien invasion is actually a positive thing. Like, the aliens are actually making us the best people that we could be, and
that's never gonna happen.
Well, but this is the thing. Like, so many people, when they have a relationship with a healthy relationship, they say, you know, you've made me the best version of myself. You know, I'm better when I'm around you. So I looked at that and went, what if there's an alien invasion that all they want is for us to be the best versions of ourselves? And they're these sort of semi-parasitical things that are actually helping us to become better people.
So that kind of works like a wellness invasion, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that sounds terrible.
Yeah.
And people would fight against that as well.
Are actually in relationships. Like, how do you think that that's going to go down? Like, if that
thing is, it didn't matter because it's an idea, it's a story, and you're right, Casper. I think a lot of people would fight against it because some people at their heart don't trust themselves to be themselves, or don't believe that there is a better version of themselves. And that's in the end what the story was actually about, is the breakdown of a relationship, and the relationship between the two people that are, you know, meeting, falling in love, and then falling out of love, is mirrored by this invasion that, you know, the aliens show up, they make us better, and then it just turns out that we're incompatible. Like, we're slowly killing them, and they have to go. They don't even particularly want to go.
We're literally too toxic for them. Like, like on a very literal level. Yeah.
And the thing is,
that sounds good to me, man.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's not. It's that thing where you get to the end of the thing, and it's like, it's not you, it's me, and that literally what's being said is, I'm not good for you, and you have to go, because if you don't, you're going to die. And I'm going to drag you down. And I realized, fuck, I had some heavy duty shit that I was going through in my head. But also, it really doesn't work in 8 pages.
That seems, I don't know. You have to put like panels, like 60 to a line.
Yeah.
Over and over.
Yeah, there was, and I mean, the guy came back to me with a thing going, this is really nice, but also it doesn't quite have the because it was meant to be positive. Yeah. Living with yourself.
Wow, that got super fucking deep.
Thing is, you've got to, like, sometimes the story and the plot are kind of different. Like, Straya's been with me since I was, I'm going to say like 12 or 13, but it was always just my kind of, because I was a nerdy kid, shocker. And I like sort of Judge Dredd and Blade Runner and that kind of stuff. And so it was set in this kind of terrible city, and there was a monster rampaging around. But always the characters that came to mind were, there was a cop from the poor part of town and the cop from the rich part of town, and they came together and they fought the monster. And every time I sat down to write it, I was just sitting there like, what do I know about cops? Like, I don't know anything about cops. I don't particularly care about cops. I definitely have nothing like revolutionary to add to a discussion of cops. And so for years, it just kind of floundered as just a setting and a basic premise without a story. And then, like, 2.5 years ago, I was like, hey, it'd be funny if mutants lived in a post-apocalyptic environment and had to put on plays to, you know, survive. I don't know why I thought that was funny, but I did. Yeah, and then, Anthony, I kind of mushed those two concepts together, and it was like they suddenly came together as this thing.
Like, and I just have someone who is going through this with me.
Sorry, say that again, Missy. I accidentally fucked you up there. I clicked on the wrong button.
No. So, Anthony, do you actually have any point where you had someone who was with you 100%? You could hug them, you could hold them, everything else that was absolutely fucked up in that moment, you had someone that was with you. For the fucking love of God, please tell me you had someone that was with you.
Sure. Yeah.
Great.
Oh, you mean like
I'm so convinced. Yeah.
No, cool. Missy, I feel like we're derailing more than most.
I feel like I missed an episode there, and I've come in. I'm like
like, at the end of the day, I'm like, this is more about me. Like, just going, yeah, can someone tell me that they've got someone? Please, for the love of God. But no, it just, like, Anthony, you really put out there the post-apocalyptic, kind of landscape, which I'm actually really on board with. And then I've gone like, oh, that's really ace. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm so alone. Can someone, like, get my back?
Thing is, Missy, I think we've all got your back.
The thing. It was like, yeah, okay.
we got your back, and we're here for you because, there's a lot to be found in this book that is about, people caring about one another and looking out for one another, and wanting to help each other, and I think that's lovely. I think that's one of the best parts about the book.
And being alone and lonely can really suck. Really like cool. I feel you. It's it can be a really corrosive and horrible thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Yeah, so to like go all up in like, hey Anthony, please solve my problems. So it was like,
it's all right. It is loose Friday night with the Quinmeister and so forth.
Yeah.
I'm the kind of person, like, if you've met me, I'm really on board with the post-apocalyptic shit. So, if there's someone who's like, oh, can we buddy up on that? I'm like, yeah, bring it on.
Yeah. All right.
Absolutely.
Well, in like an hour and 2 hours, hour and a half.
Yeah, I think we're getting close.
Your ship will come in.
Yeah.
I actually don't know if it's on the dot midnight. That's just my dumb brain thinking that. I could be completely wrong. So I'll lead you astray.
That's absolutely fine. So, like, 3 hours from now, we'll take out that nest from 3 days ago. Not a problem.
Yeah. So I want to shift gears ever so slightly. We're talking just a bit before about Invincible. We've just finished the season. You read the comics and then managed to completely forget what was in them. Is that right, Ed?
Yeah, like I don't know why I'd forgotten them. You know how when you read about, you've probably done this all the time, but you find a comic that you love and it's pretty far along, and you're like, oh, I'll just read them all at once, and then to the exclusion of sleep and proper hygiene, you just read them in a row, and then it's like your brain stops it's like when all the colors get smushed together and it's just brown, and that's how your brain becomes, because you're throwing too much information at it, and I think that's what I did. I remember the start, and then now I'm just like, I remember the premise, and I remember how none of it works out. So so every episode is a delight to me, because the A-list cast is insane. Like every voice, I'm pausing on Amazon like, oh my god, this is everyone I like in a show.
The X-ray for that show is amazing.
The X-ray. That's what I'm trying to babble out, is the X-ray. I forgot what it was called.
Especially because I haven't read the comics, but it's good to read. Like, they've changed a lot from the comics to the show as well, by the sounds of it. Like, they've rolled in a few characters and they've put some new ones in.
Yeah. You go, Rob.
I just love the first episode where it starts off and it just plays the expectations of being yet another colourful superhero movie that use familiar characters, familiar voices. You're going through all your paces, and then it's that final 5-10 minutes when shit gets real. And you realize, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Talking about what we just saw on Falcon and Winter Soldier, or are you guys off on another side?
We've moved on to Invincible, I think, now.
Oh.
Yeah, we haven't actually talked about Falcon and Winter Soldier because, initially this was very much, I wanted to talk to Anthony about his book, and now it is kind of like whatever the fuck people want to talk about.
It's all on, baby. It's all on.
Anthony's men. Cool.
Yeah.
Love this guy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Look, I think that first episode fucking sets up a very, very difficult thing, which is it's going to be super bright, super colorful, and super fucking violent.
Super violent.
and yet at the same time manages like to balance an incredible fucking voice cast. Like as you said, like it is so good. And do you feel like it's stuck the landing in terms of the end of the series? People who have seen it.
No spoilers, please. I still haven't watched the last episode.
Yeah, I've been doing this.
No.
Yeah,
it's gonna be interesting.
there's enough in the final episode to draw a conclusion to this story arc, but still leaves it with enough to fill out the upcoming seasons 2 and season 3. So I'm going to keep not reading Invincible the comic and just wait for the animated series to keep coming out so I don't spoil myself.
Really?
Oh, that's
interesting that you would stop reading comics in order to get the Disney version of it.
I've only read the first 3 or 4 volumes, so I kind of knew where Invincible was starting from, but I didn't quite know where it was going to end up.
Yeah, but what does that say about, like, so, people who are watching the MCU and blah, 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 like myself, I'm only watching the MCU universe and I'm not watching the comics. I'm not seeing what else is coming out. If people are kind of going like, oh, I'm going to stop reading that because I'm waiting for the MCU version, what does that mean for the sales? What does that mean for what they're trying to accomplish?
Oh, the books are still selling. The Invincible books are still selling out from the comic book shops. People are still buying them.
Yeah,
people have been watching the cartoon series and buying the books.
Yeah, but the people who are buying them and not the people who are watching the MCU movies.
Well, I think there are people who are doing both. I think there are people who are buying the comics who are wanting more. Like you watch the TV series and you go, that was great. I want more. I want more Bucky. I want more, Sam Wilson. Sweet. I'll go and look into the comics and everything like that. Whereas I think you make a really interesting point there, Rob, that like I'm going to stop reading the comics because I just want a particular version of it. I want the TV version.
Yeah. Well,
I think a lot of people had that too.
I'm enjoying the TV version so much. I just don't want to spoil it for myself. I want to be surprised. I want that suspense. I don't want to know who dies, who lives, that sort of thing. I want to be surprised each episode when it comes along.
Hang on.
But
so
we're not being given the idea of where that's going to go next. We don't know what movie they're going to go into next. So what comic series are you going to follow that has that particular storyline? What we do or don't know that's going to go into fucking Doctor Strange movie. We do or don't know that's going to go into a Marvel whatever.
Yeah, look, I think that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is now kind of plowing its own field. It's
its own thing.
Yeah,
it's drawing inspiration from the books that have come before, but it's pretty much doing its own thing with it. So, there's talk about Secret Invasion coming up, but I don't think that's going to be a one-for-one translation from the comic book. We're going to see the MCU version of Secret Invasion, which is probably going to be a totally different thing altogether.
Yeah, like Civil War was. Civil War, the movie was nothing like the comics.
Yeah.
And thank goodness for that.
Also true.
Thank goodness for that. I don't think I could have handled watching the New Warriors die on the big screen.
Sorry, say that again, Missy?
Well, no, I'm just saying that the people who only follow the cinematic universe, they're not going to get like, oh, I need to go and read these 10 other comics in order to understand what's going on. They're like, oh, when's the next Marvel movie coming out? What's the next fucking... Is it Wonder? Is it Doctor Strange? Is it all these other things? And it's like, for me particularly, I'm a DC girl. And so that's the fucking thing that I've been following. So
it's going to be a bad time for you then.
Yeah, it is.
Sorry.
It is. Yeah, to be fair, you're right. But what
I mean, you got a lot of TV there for a while.
MCU has been really fantastic. Is that I have extrapolated everything I know about MCU from the Tippy 2A spoiler fucking group.
Okay, so our spoiler group has been your intro into.
That is the only reason I know anything about everything that's going on. And so when we look forward to the next Disney movies and we look forward to the next phase, what the fuck ever phase they're into right now.
The making more money than God phase.
No,
it's not a phase, Winnie. It's not a phase.
You're right. No, sorry.
At this point, it's a legacy.
But my point is, like, I know that I've got a whole bunch of people who are like, oh, if you don't know about this and Valentino and blah, 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 I've got like a whole bunch of stuff going on. That's what I really love about this Tippy 2A spoiler group. So that's really amazing.
I do think it's an interesting point, Missy, that you make, like, because this is something that we came up to talking about a bit last week as well, that things like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, WandaVision to another degree, has become kind of impenetrable. And Anthony, I'd kind of like your take on that a little bit. Like, are they friendly? Are they friendly for new viewers? Are they?
Oh man, it's so hard for me to kind of make that call, because I think when you're immersed in enough geek culture, you know the shorthand, you understand the tricks to kind of getting up to date quickly. Whereas if some just non-nerd off the street, you try to explain what the hell WandaVision's about, they will probably call security on you. And deservedly so. You will be justifiably tased. Because it is maddeningly complex. My girlfriend hadn't seen Age of Ultron or a couple of the Captain America movies going into WandaVision. And so she had a lot of trouble getting her head around both WandaVision and Age of Ultron, but more specifically Falcon and Winter Soldier, just because she wasn't sort of familiar with those two characters and where they kind of sat. But she got up to date pretty quickly. I mean, they're more convoluted than they are complex. There's not a great deal of nuance. It's more this happened, then this happened, and this happened, and that's why these characters are here. You're not kind of digging through and sifting through emotional layers. So I think spoiler cast or Wikipedia is your friend in that case, if you don't want to, watch all the films and do all the homework. But it's a lot. It is a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I think that we've hit that point where, like, you can now jump into different aspects of it, and there is a certain freedom in that if you particularly like a group of characters, you can just watch something with those characters. Yeah. And DC, I think, made a very interesting decision by going the multiverse route, where it's like, if you like a particular version of this character, you can sort of be invested in that. So you can have your Batfleck, or you can have your Robert Pattinson Batman, or you can have, Batman the Animated Series. You can have, Brave and the Bold, whatever your particular take on it is.
Have the Arrowverse.
You can have the Arrowverse if you don't like Batman at all.
Can we not have the Arrowverse, please?
Okay, I do want to ask that. Where are we at with the Arrowverse? Is it now dead?
The Avengers universe really kind of.
Hang on, Missy. I want to keep on the Arrowverse for a moment. Like,
yeah, go on.
So, where are we at? Has it had its day?
Is it still going? Is that show still going?
It is.
Done.
Wow. Arrow's done. Supergirl's about to finish up.
Okay.
You got Superman and Lois, which is doing its own thing.
Yeah.
I think Batwoman's on the resuscitation table.
Oh, yeah. Batwoman is touch and go. And I think the Flash is just going to wind up eventually.
I think
Yeah.
Legends of Tomorrow have been hemorrhaging enough, like some of their best cast that I don't know how many seasons they've got left.
Which have you seen? Have you seen the trailer for the new season of Legends
yeah.
of Tomorrow?
It is amazing. Legends. I feel like Legends is about where you want it to be. Is one of the better shows for that one because Flash was great for the first 2 seasons. Arrow was
that's what I
great.
hung around for. Yeah.
Arrow
Yeah.
was great on and off. I thought Arrow season 1 was probably one of the best seasons they ever did for Arrow because it actually explored the character a lot more than I thought they would.
Yeah,
But
yeah. And then
I love the Flash, but I can't watch it.
I haven't been able to since the Crisis. Like they did Crisis on Infinite Earths, and I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm done with this whole fucking universe. Apart from Legends of Tomorrow, because I feel like it doesn't give a fuck.
I keep meaning to actually sit down and watch that at some point. No, I'll watch more of it. I've watched the first couple seasons of it.
Yeah. Oh, look, the first season's terrible. Second season kind of finds its feet. Third and fourth, it's gone. Okay, we're a comedy show. And the
third season for its finale, they kind of realized, okay, this is where the finale is going to end up. It's make or break for us.
Is that Bebo?
That was Bebo, wasn't it? Where the giant fluffy, a giant demonic soft toy rampaging through history, and you're like, fuck yeah.
Rampaging through Cowboy Town in bloody 1890 or whatever.
Yeah, with Jonah Hex in the background going, I don't know what's going on. Like, cool, great.
Predacanga, yes, they did bring back Captain Cold at some point, but it was alternate reality Captain Cold.
Yeah, from another universe. And
see, I like the multiverse, but past a certain point, you can just kind of do anything. So nothing means anything because anything can be anything. And it's just, after a certain while, I'm like, there's got to be some rules, otherwise it's just chaos. I've already got that in my head.
I'm very, very worried about where they're going because the next couple of films that we've got coming out are Flashpoint. And the Spider-Man Far From
Into the Multiverse, Mountains of Multiverse, or whatever. Oh, no, that's Doctor Strange.
That's Doctor Strange, but there is also the Spider-Man Far From Home or Not Something Home. I can't remember.
Going home.
No Way Home.
Where's Me Home?
Yeah.
Home Alone.
Go home. Go home, Spider-Man, you're drunk.
Exactly. And they're starting to talk to those, and I mean, even what's his name, Alfred Molina has actually said, yes, I'm playing that version of Dr. Octopus from a totally different universe. And you're like, fuck, if you're doing multiverse stories, as you say, now all bets are off. Nobody ever dies, nothing really means anything.
You didn't like that version of a character, here's another version of that character. You don't like this character, oh, that's okay, it was a scroll, we'll just bring him back later.
Yeah.
Like death has to mean something, otherwise it's kind of, I don't know, it's all insubstantial.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the worst thing you can do is make deaths meaningless, because suddenly your drama doesn't work anymore.
Well,
that's why Invincible works so well, despite all its gore.
When Spidey went to dust, when we did the whole thing, it's like you can't come back from that. Like we know.
Oh well, but the thing is, we knew in Avengers that everybody was coming back.
We knew in Endgame he'd come back, but you can't do that again. Do you know what I mean?
You get to pull that trick exactly once, and then that's it.
Yeah,
don't get to do it again.
Yeah.
But I mean, can't do it again.
Yeah, exactly. No, sorry, completely distracted by another thought. So, okay, Ant, just a question on the book. Just to bring it back to that very briefly. Is there going to be a Straya expanded universe? Will there be a series of other books that happen in and around the character of Franga? Also, I do think the character name Franga is one of the greatest character names ever committed to the page.
Thank you.
Franga's pretty good.
Yeah.
Thank you. I would love to tell more stories in this. I think it's fair to say that Straya is a self-contained story, but if people like it, there is. Say again.
So it's a spent Franga.
It's a spent.
It's
Franga.
a spent Franga. It's a spent Franga, but it offered protection, and that was the important thing.
Right.
I mean,
and yeah, look, I would love
have to deal with the protection.
Yeah. Okay, good. Let's not.
We're about to learn some shit right now. No, I would love to tell more stories in this universe. I would love to tell more stories of Franga. Both of those are definitely on the table. They just need to, please read it, and that can happen.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you've got a few people who've ordered the book in the chat already.
There you go. I'm gonna move from podcast to podcast now and just slowly see that.
Do it. Like that's how Kevin Smith operates, isn't it? Essentially, just
basically,
like one by one, getting people to go and watch or buy his movie.
Have a heart attack. That's what you need to do.
Oh yeah. Okay. I would suggest maybe don't do that, Anne.
I'll do my best to avoid that if I'm honest.
Yeah.
No, he does though. That is kind of his thing. He talks for like a long time too, man. Like he does these like 3 hours talks. And, like,
no, and he does it very well, and like makes a big fucking show out of it, and makes the whole thing like about making you feel special about the thing. So I mean, ow. Fuck me. Sorry, I just punched the table.
You gotta watch those tables, man. They will fucking sneak up on you.
They're vicious bastards, these tables. They're angry tables. But I do think that like it's an interesting marketing method of going, okay, I'm going grassroots. I'm not going to try and, put it out there through standard circles. I'm going to actually just try and get people to watch it because they want to.
Yeah, I haven't enjoyed a film of his for a while now. I love Clerks and all that sort of stuff, but I respect the hell out of that dude, and his hustle is second to none. Like him kind of just going from place to place and just wowing crowds sort of constantly is, I don't know, it's impressive.
Yeah,
it really is.
I particularly like. Oh, sorry.
You go. No, please.
I particularly liked his video on the self-transforming Optimus Prime. That's the most recent thing I enjoyed of his.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that.
It's been doing the rounds because that toy was been marketed as the robotic Optimus Prime that transforms and talks and dances.
A voice-activated transformer.
Yeah. Wow. And every single Transformers fan, and I'm looking at you, Rob.
Yes.
Every single Transformers fan had a brief moment of like, it's what I've wanted forever. And there's Kevin Smith with the fucking thing. Hang on, Casper, bring that back.
Don't bring that juicy ink back, baby. Come on.
Yeah. Here we go. Was it?
Quinny, I just gave that away.
Yes.
Look that away.
Yeah, I was looking at the wrong screen because I was looking at the Twitch chat, and then I was like, "Oh yeah, I need to watch Streamlabs."
That's the color on that one's really lovely.
Yeah,
nice, very nice. Yeah, lovely work.
Had a friend do the design, and then really good tattoo artist do it.
Yeah, right. Very nice. Look, I'm okay. So my apologies. I now realise that there are a bunch of Transformers fans here. I thought it was just me playing with my fucking Transformers directly in front of me. What? Like these are my fucking fidget spinners. You know?
Oh
yeah.
Where did that go?
I got mine as well.
Yep. And I hate the fact that I now need them. But they are, while I'm playing D&D online or whatever, I'm just playing with my little Transformers or whatever to keep my hands busy. It's probably better than masturbating or smoking.
Look, man, I'm just too mature for these kind of toys and shit, man, so it's not my thing at all.
Definitely not. Definitely not. So, what's the next thing for you, man? Like, what do you want to do with the book? Where do you want it to be bought by 3 billion people and turned into the next?
I mean, don't get me wrong. That would be nice. I think it would make a better series than it would a film. But that's mainly because there's sort of stuff to fill in along the way, and there's kind of world building I'd like to do. I definitely wouldn't say no to a film. But it's very, very early days yet. It's not even the day yet because it doesn't come out for another hour.
An hour.
Yeah. So very early days. I would love to tell more stories, and I just love to see how it lands and if people can appreciate it. And I gotta say, thanks for having me on, even talking about it, because this is like an indie self-published book.
That was a question that a couple of people said to me is is he publishing this himself? Is he, how is he doing it? And
let me tell you this: when you go to a publisher and you pitch them, you're like, okay, it's like Mad Max, and they're like, I'm listening, and you're like, except instead of Max, who's good at violence, it's a mutant and he's shit at violence. Wait. And he does theater with a bunch of ugly mutant children. No, come back, mate, come back. And everyone speaks in a weird kind of language. No. At first it's hard to understand, but after what you're calling security? Okay. That's the experience.
Yeah.
And
they kind of say, no, thank you. We've already seen Welcome to Whoop Whoop.
Now there's an underrated classic.
Is it though?
No. I mean, I'm glad it exists because you can watch it and go, wow.
Yes,
wow.
That's how we shouldn't do it. Yeah, good.
Let's not do it like that. Yeah. No, I think there's like a perfect point to hit when something's weird and funny, and you've got to, if you go too far into just nothing. Again, it's the nothing means anything principle. If anything is just shit at the wall, throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks, you kind of like, can you just maybe find out what sticks and then get back to me, because this seems like a long period of confusion. That's fucking whoop to me.
Yeah.
But I admire the chutzpah. They got that film made. And I would have loved to have been there and to watch the just slack-jawed, incomprehending faces watching that film. Just that brings me such joy. I don't know why, but that just brings me a lot of joy.
A bunch of people just sitting there.
What? What, Daryl? You suggested this bloody film. Well, I know you didn't direct it, mate, but look at this fucking thing. What's the kangaroo doing? Oh, for fuck's sake. I liked his other film, but this is bullshit.
It's Kangaroo Jack all over again.
Oh. No, that's what happened when you heard, oh no.
You've broken Rob, you've heard him. You've heard him in his heart.
Oh.
Kangaroo Jack. Okay. We did a line in Australian films there for a while that were like essentially, I don't know, kid friendly, like Red Dog, or not that Red Dog's particularly kid friendly, but
Red Dog makes me cry all the time. Can't watch it.
I haven't seen Red Dog, but I heard good things.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Like I mean, I respect Red Dog. It's not like necessarily my kind of film, but I think it had like a good cast and it was well conceived. And I think Crib Stenders is a really good director. So yeah, I think it definitely had its positives. It was weird that it got so popular with kids because there's a bunch of non-kid friendly stuff. But then again, in the 80s, there was a lot of films that kids watched that weren't kid friendly. I think the notion of kid friendly has become this really kind of artistically paralyzing kind of thing, because kids can handle some shit, like not a lot of shit, but some. They can handle, like, they live in this world. They're going to work it out eventually. And,
I was a very impressionable young kid back in the day. There were a lot of movies that I just could not handle until I was well into my 40s.
But you knew that, right? You knew that, like you were like, yeah, Mum, Dad, I'm not coping with this shit. So can you not with the? Yeah,
I'm not watching Goonies. I'll just wait another 10 years before I can appreciate that.
The film that fucked me up still to this day is Time Bandits. Terry Gilliam's Time Bandits.
Yes.
It's like, because he goes through this whole adventure, and then right at the end he gets back home, and his parents, who fucking clearly hate him, are like not listening to him. He's like, Mum, Dad, don't touch that in the oven. It's evil, because there's like solid evil in the oven. And they touch the solid evil, and then they just explode.
Yep.
Explode. So he's a kid, And then the kid wanders around the neighborhood, and all these other like families look at him like, "Oh yeah, it's a terrible thing that his parents exploded." And you're like, "Oh, how does he save them?" The fucking movie ends. That's the end of the movie. We pan up through the fucking sky, while this kid whose whole world is just fractured into nothingness stands around and like gawking neighbors stare at him. Directed by Terry Gilliam. Fuck you, Terry Gilliam.
These things.
What are you doing?
These things dig my fucking head in.
Oh my god!
I've had just utter terror about these fucking hook monster things for forever. Yeah. I've never been able to quite get past the fact that they like, and yes, honestly, I think it did me a lot of damage. I'm you know,
definitely don't show your kids Time Bandits. Parents out there, don't do it.
No,
and, you know,
and as you say, that pure like condensed the concept of pure condensed evil as a physical piece of something that you could pick up that would then make people explode. I'm pretty sure did a lot of damage to me as a child, because I had very bad nightmares about, you know, Satan, but as pure condensed evil. And it's a very difficult concept to sell to people.
To be fair, Quinny, that is the most convenient way to distribute evil. Like, I mean, name a more convenient way. If you're getting evil, get it. You try to get non-condensed evil through the post. They'll never send it. That's like $20, $50 for international postage fees.
I ordered some,
and then you got
non-condensed evil from Wish
for your sandwiches.
And it's still in the Suez Canal. Sorry, Rob, what was that? I'm sure that you actually had a much funnier joke than I did.
I said, well, and then you got your sweetened condensed evil, which you can just put in your sandwiches.
That's true. That's true.
Yes,
that makes a nice lunch.
Yeah. My dad has the condensed evil and coffee.
Yes.
You know, just hot water and a little bit of evil. It's very tasty. Bad for you.
Lovely. It's not good, but it's evil.
I think the two childhood movies that messed me up were Child's Play when I was really young. Like, I really should not have been watching Child's Play. And Toxic Avenger.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
I think that's why over time I've been desensitized by that weird, like, over-the-top gore.
Yeah. Yeah, well, see, I didn't come to gore until much later. Like, I really struggled with that. You know, I was late teens before I finally watched Aliens, because I'd seen. Really? My primary school. Here's my weird shit coming out. My primary school, for some reason, had ordered the book of Alien, and had it sitting on a shelf, and it was H.R. Geiger artwork and photos from the film.
Yeah. So as in the middle of it, that's great. But as a kid.
Yeah, as a kid, I'm like, that's a hand that is you know, and it's covering the face and it's doing something terrible. Phrasing. But
someone's been having condensed evil.
But yeah, so this book, and so I could not go anywhere near Alien at all. And so many years later, I finally watched the director's cut of Aliens during the middle of the day, because I was like, okay, I think I'm going to be able to deal with the terror, and fucking loved it. And then I went back and watched Alien and was like, no, it's still fucking terrifying.
Yeah, Alien.
That shit's scary.
Well, two different directors, two different movie genres, really.
Yeah.
They really are.
Suspense, sci-fi, and then you just got your balls to the wall action adventure.
But such superbly done horror and such superbly done action.
Oh yeah,
like it really is kind of like two directors at the peak of their powers.
Yeah,
definitely one of the rare sequels are, if as good as the original.
Yeah. So, Angels Devils also asked a question there tomorrow when the war began. Like, I'm assuming you were talking about either the book series rather than, I mean, the film was what, 8 years ago now or something like that?
Yeah.
The film, apparently, I didn't know this until Travis Johnson, another critic, told me that did an article about it. There was a TV show. Tomorrow When the War Began.
On ABC.
Apparently completely bypassed that.
Most people did.
Apparently.
It wasn't terrible.
I think there's good premise there. I think the books I read the first one, and then I was like, with most like sort of books of that type, I read the first one, I'm like, cool, but that's me. I read that with Hunger Games as well. I was like, yeah, cool, but.
I do want to congratulate you for not going into the YA world. I mean, I suppose technically Franga is YA, but you know.
I gave this the very hard moment. I gave this to my partner to read, and she read it, and she was about 20 pages in, and she's like, I don't know. I think it's a lot of swearing for a kid's book.
Ow!
The fuck told you it was a kid's book? She got about page 50 and she's like, oh, I see. It's not a kid's book. It's just the main character's a teenager. Usually means it's a kid book. I'm like, what are you talking about? Yeah. So
wow.
In the afterward, I give her a shout out saying, thanks for realizing it wasn't a kid's book. Was it the graphic violence in the first chapter that threw you?
Having read as much as I have, but like the idea that in any way it's a kid's book is just very funny.
I gotta say, I got nothing against YA though. I think YA gets a bad name because so many bad books have been written in it. But I read a what is technically a YA book by a South African writer called When the Ground is Hard by Marla Nunn. And it's a story of two schoolgirls living in Swaziland in the mid-1960s. Now, if you know me, you will be like, why are you reading that? No one's head's exploding. What's going on? But it's so well written. It's so well written and so beautifully observed that, you know, it's one of those books where you kind of read and you're just like, oh, my heart, my soul feels enriched by this. And that is technically a YA book. It actually won the 2019 Young Adult Literary Prize, Los Angeles Literary Prize. So I think there are great YA books. It's just most of the ones that are about like teenagers who have the power of whatever and can fucking change the world with a magical dolphin or whatever are not them. But like, there's good stuff out there. I think it gets a bad rap because of the bad. Horror does as well, by the way. I'm very defensive of horror for the same reason. It's like everyone's like, well, I saw a bad horror movie once, so they're all shit. It's like, yeah, I had a bad relationship once, but you know, I still like sex and people doing stuff. Like, Jesus, like, don't let one thing ruin the whole fucking, ruin the whole thing for you.
Yeah,
Can we circle back around to the magical dolphin again? That'd be
guys, Magical Dolphin Girl is gonna be amazing. You're gonna see that, and shows he's got these magical dolphin friends. And
that happened. That was an Australian TV show.
What?
Where the girl was, is it Water Girl or something like that?
Splash or
no,
Water Girl.
It's
don't Google Water Girl. I promise you.
No,
I also just Googled Marine Girl, and that came up with some not what I was expecting.
It's Ocean Girl, and it's from 1994.
I think that full season. I think some of that was filmed up here on the Gold Coast. So anyway,
it was Australian.
It went for 4 seasons.
Yeah.
There you go.
Ocean Girl does exist, and I guess
there we go.
Wow.
Sequest also exists as well, I guess.
Sequest DSV, was that the thing? That wasn't
Sequest, yep.
And it had old mate from Next Generation. Yeah. Star Trek, but underwater and not good. Not good.
Yeah, true. Sorry, I'm looking at her going, was she somebody? Did she end up doing like another role that she became more famous for?
More famous than Ocean Girl, Quinny? I doubt it.
Yeah, sorry.
How do you top Ocean Girl? 78 episodes. Like, I'm taking the piss out of this show. It lasted 78 episodes. Nothing I've done's lasted 78 anything. So, Ocean Girl, I doff my hat to you.
Yeah, considering it outlived Terra Nova by roughly 70 episodes.
I imagine the budget difference between the two is a little bit as well.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Sorry, I come back to look at the chat, and there's somebody talking about Poultrygeist.
I do love Poultrygeist. Yeah.
And also Girl from Tomorrow. Yes.
Bad Sheep was an interesting exercise in weirdness.
Oh,
Black Sheep.
Black Sheep. Yes. We've had a whole bunch of very, very good horror films. I don't know, what's your favourite Australian horror, Ant? And this goes for all of you. I know we've had the Babadook, but
I mean, I like the Babadook. I think Wake in Fright is one of my favorite. The sort of original. I mean, it's not. There's not like a monster or a killer or anything. It's just basically a pom goes drinking with Australians, and that's the horror of it. And by the end, you're just like, yeah, fucking Australians are scary. Like, this is bullshit. Like, if you've lived here your whole life, and I'm still like, fuck.
You know what? I made the mistake when I was 29 3/4 of going on a Kontiki tour.
Then you know, buddy. Then you know.
Yes, I have seen shit that will turn you white. But
I think it already happened, man.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. But yeah, no, I have seen the lowest of the low in when it comes to Australians, and you know, there is nothing that could horrify me more than 7 o'clock on a Kontiki bus the day after everyone's been drinking.
Working in the hotel, having to clean up the day after. Thank you very much.
Sorry, you are. Yes, actually, no, you make a very good point. I remember seeing somebody coming out of somebody else's cabin at the Grand Canyon, throwing up, and like over and over and over again. And then being like, no, I don't think I'll go on the helicopter ride across the Grand Canyon. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing with your life?
Wow.
Like, you a helicopter ride into and around the Grand Canyon, but no, I think I need to get shit-faced and try and fuck somebody from Tenerife.
We've all been there. Tenerife, I mean.
Yes, true. What are your thoughts on Wormwood? Did you watch Wormwood?
I love Wormwood, actually. So Wormwood came out, loved it, saw it, and then I actually worked with the guys, Kia and Tristan, as they were trying to put together a TV version of Wormwood, like a kind of sort of elaboration for Netflix. Yeah. They did a fantastic short trailer, like a 5 or 6 minute trailer. It got trillions of views, and they used that to pitch to Netflix and whatnot. And Netflix and the various streamers were like, eh. So anyway, then just recently, just this year, actually, they shot a proper sequel, which I am really looking forward to seeing. But I mean, those guys are just pure adrenaline filmmaking. They're just these kind of really well shot, endlessly creative, kinetic, just action blast. They just like a fusion of Mad Max and Sam Raimi, Evil Dead kind of stuff. Just glorious stuff.
Yeah. And look, I love it.
And made for no money. Like made for the first one just had, the catering budget on Ocean Girl saying,
Yeah, I love those. I also found an interesting thing with Skinford. Mates with the guy who directed it, and I watched the first one, and I have an awful feeling I insulted him quite badly, because I'm talking. So I went to the Dead House Dark thing the other day, and was talking to Enzo Tedeschi, who's the guy who arranged that whole thing. It's a 6-part anthology thing. Like having this conversation, and I said, "Oh yeah, Skinford, is that?" No, yeah, Skinford, yeah. I feel like the director just put every single one of his fetishes on screen, and Enzo was like, yeah. Actually, somebody said that to him at the premiere, and it really annoyed him. And I was like, oh, I think that was me.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna do it, just cop to it, man. Like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure someone has talked to Quentin Tarantino and gone, mate.
Oh, I think that upsets him.
Is there going to be another shot of feet? Is serious? This is the 47th shot in this movie. It's been on for 10 minutes of dirty feet, mate. Dirty feet. Yeah. I just think he's like, direct your own fucking movie. How would that be?
You've actually put people's feet who aren't even in the movie. Like, there is shots of Uma Thurman's feet in this film, and she's not in the film, Chief. What are you doing?
And I guess he's living his best life, Quinny. That's what he's doing, mate. He's living his best life. Because I mean, I don't understand why people are into feet. It's not my thing. But if you're into feet and you can just bung feet in a movie and get, like, I guess the best feet, I don't understand how you
for it.
Can we expect Quentin Tarantino's Footloose or Happy Feet?
Now I feel like we've really hit where we need to be.
Yeah.
Hey, there's no bagging on Happy Feet. One of the few musicals I actually really enjoy.
Yeah, no, I love Happy Feet, and I think that's a wonderful fucking movie where it's just like, oh yeah, that's right. You can do things that are happy and you know, beautiful. And
I like the first one a lot.
Yeah, the second one, no, really missed its fucking mark in a big way.
I just can't believe it's the same director as Mad Max. So you know, Mad Max, you know, he does Mad Max, he does Happy Feet, he does Babe, but you know, he's got range.
He does have range, but then he also did Babe 2: A Pig in the City, and that's the one where we
No, I'm sorry, Quinny. I'm going to have to ask you to step outside because Babe, Pig in the City is such a catastrophe, and I love it. I love the fucking golf club they've got in a fucking kids film. The fucking place gets sold to at the end. I love just like the city that looks like no city. It's just like, because the first one was vaguely like a kind of strictly ballroom heightened reality. And then Babe, Pig in the City is like, it's a dystopia, but fucking, yeah, just like daubed in pastel and color. And it's just, what is this film? I love big disasters like that.
Like the big, brave, silly disasters.
Big, brave, silly disasters.
Yeah.
Like the difference between Gremlins and Gremlins 2.
Gremlins 2, baby.
Oh,
Gremlins 2.
Fuck it. I do love me some Gremlins 2.
Is it good? No. But is it amazing?
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Masterpiece of our time? Maybe.
Yeah. I will always and forever love Gremlins 2 just for this guy. Hang on, where is he?
Are you talking
is the doctor
this guy,
Lionel Luther?
Well, yeah, he's amazing, but this is the where is he?
Oh,
I mean, fucking Christopher Lee for a start.
Sure. Respect. Is this the one that talks like, oh, no, is it Kelsey Grammer's kind of voice or something?
yeah.
Are you getting the audio on this?
No, I'm not.
Hang on. Let me. Hang on. I've got to do it with the audio.
That's finger.
Yeah. Hang on. Let's just make sure we do it with the audio.
Just make the audio yourself, Quinny. Come on, mate.
Oh, sorry. Damn it! You've caught me out. I should have done that. Here we go. Right. Just go back just a tad. There you go.
Get your diseases like that, wouldn't you?
There we go.
Find me the One Ring.
Perhaps not.
The first attempt of those Urukai didn't go quite so well.
Not as tight as the first film, I would have thought.
Well, hello there.
I love he found glasses.
Just immediately.
Wanna talk a little bit about what's going on in this room, because I think there are some fascinating ramifications here for the future. When you introduce genetic material of research quality to a life form such as ours, which is possessed of a sort of, I hesitate to use.
Is that supposed to be a British accent or an Aussie accent?
It's Tony Randall who does the voice.
I believe that's a common bat of the order Chiroptera. The only mammals I might
does it matter? Is it where's that thing from? It is what it is. So good.
Yeah, that first Gremlins movie just really freaked me out.
Yeah. It's okay. We'll come back to that one. I think the first Gremlins movie is spectacular for what it manages to do as a kids' film.
As a Christmas movie.
kids movie, Christmas movie, as everything. Like the fact that it is the horror that it is, but
Almost
still
a
manages to
perfect-
balance out the kindness and the love and the sweetness is magical. And yes, Predicanga, yes, we. How many people actually went on the Gremlins ride at Movie World? I have not. By the time, was it good, Ant?
It was great. I remember. I only really recall lots of Gremlins covering things and moving. Like the Gremlins weren't moving. They sort of had to hide the fact that they didn't have that many that were moving. But
right.
Yeah, I remember being impressed with the numbers.
Of Gremlins.
Of Gremlins, yes, not just numbers in general. Although some are very nice. I'm
27.
Quite partial.
My God.
I'm quite partial to 27.
Yes.
Alluring somehow.
Personally, I've always been into a good 69. Anyway,
Quinny.
37.
We had the tone at a certain level of class.
Yeah.
Just besmirched it.
yeah, you're right. I have. I'm sorry. I feel very
Come
bad.
on, mate.
I apologize to the millions of people in the chat right now. All 4 of you.
What ride did that get replaced with? Because I went on the Scooby-Doo one. That was actually surprisingly
I think it might have been the Scooby-Doo ride that replaced it.
Which has now been replaced again, I believe.
Oh, has it?
Okay.
Or was it? No, I think it was updated. But yeah, I think you're right. It was the Scooby-Doo ride, and I love the Scooby-Doo ride. Once or twice I've been there. I do love a good ride. This has been.
I've always liked that about you. I hear that word on the street.
This has been a ride, an absolute spectacular ride. I am going to. I think we're going to wind it up there, but I do just want to make sure that one last time I share this and make sure that everybody knows that in precisely 26 minutes, you will be able to buy that book. And that book is Straya by Anthony O'Connor. That's you, by the way.
Oh, shit. I wondered why it had my name on it. I was like, this is fucking weird.
Yeah.
What a coinky-dink.
Yeah, I know, right? It's very, very
Sounds
weird.
like me too.
Yeah, it sounds like something you'd be into. It's been a pleasure. I've thoroughly enjoyed this. And we will do this again sometime soon. I don't know whether it'll be next Friday, but because I think by next Friday we'll have episodes of Star Wars out. The Bad Batch.
Yes. At least the first episode, if not the second.
I believe they're doing the first episode on May the 4th and then another episode on the Friday. So
Right.
I believe that's how it's going to go.
And then we can talk about the finale of Invincible as well.
We can talk about the finale of Invincible. We can also talk about the making of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which I watched half of the making of, and I was like, yep, well done, you guys.
Yeah.
My biggest takeaway from that is that the director is a Rabbitohs fan. Go figure.
Yeah. And the thing that I took away from it that I really enjoyed was that the director is a middle-aged woman that,
Yes.
you know, almost everybody who's like, yeah, Captain America, fucking yeah, all that kind of stuff, would probably have looked at that and gone, well, she's not who I expected to be driving this around. But I think she was the right person to drive it. I really enjoyed it.
Well, yeah, I gave a look up on IMDb. Yeah, she's got a pretty impressive back catalogue of work behind her, so she obviously knows what she's doing. And Falcon and Winter Soldier speaks for itself.
It does, yes. What did you think of it, Ant? Did you enjoy it?
I liked it. I thought the first episode and the final episode were great. I did get a little... it felt a little uneven in the middle, but I think it came really good by episode 6. I actually got quite emotional in the final one, which I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
I thought there was a lot of really nice stuff there. It was a kind of a bit of a closed loop. It was... can I spoil here?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're all good here.
It was, he's not going to accept the shield. And I remember when he did that, I was like, oh, so this is the story of him accepting the shield. And of course, that is what it is. But I mean, a lot of the pleasure of Marvel is not that it's unpredictable. It's that it tells unlikely stories in effective and affecting ways. And I think in terms of emotion and in terms of a decent arc, it was done really well. I think I preferred WandaVision's weirdness, but that's just a me thing.
No, I think a lot of people, found that the Falcon and the Winter Soldier was a little normal.
Yeah.
In comparison to...
Definitely by comparison, yeah.
Yeah. And also... Sorry, you go, Casper.
I was just about to say, you could see all the twists that were coming, unfortunately, a little bit. They
actually,
signposted pretty hard.
I love the pitch meeting for it. I enjoy those pitch meetings. They're very
me too.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Oh, seek it out. It is very funny. There's this whole kind of thing about so what's her name? So Sharon is this person who worked in Madripoor, and she's got lots of power and influence. Also, there's this person called the Power Broker who's in Madripoor and has lots of power and influence. So she's the Power Broker. No. Why would you think that? Well, that you just kind of gave us a really big hit. I'm going to need you to get all the way off my back about.
I like how like that final scene with the Power Broker with Sharon. She's like walking away, and it's like, okay, so she's got the job. So what's that going to mean? And she literally is on the fucking phone going, yeah, so I'm probably going to do some stuff with alien tech and a bunch of evil plans. I'm sorry, this line is terrible. Evil plans. Come
right
back
out
for
the
the
door.
Next season. Evil plans. Just Jesus Christ. I was like, we get it. Just let the moment sit. You don't have to underline it that hard. Like, I think people have worked that out. But
I had a really interesting conversation after this thing last week. So Beck, who is one of the people who joined us, was having a lot of problems with her mic and couldn't actually hear or join in properly. And we were talking afterwards, and she'd known some people who'd worked on the show. So she was friends with one of the people, the Australian flag smasher.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So she was a friend of a friend there. And apparently they'd shot quite a lot more stuff about the flag smashers. Yeah, and a big part of that whole thing was explaining, a little bit more clearly what their point of view was, because I found the show really kind of undersold their perspective.
Yeah, I agree.
And you found yourself kind of going, so they're just terrorists. And the moment that she's like, kill the people, you're like, oh, well, they're just evil.
Yeah.
But what they're actually meant to be about and what is a lot more complicated, and I think would have made Anthony Mackie's big speech at the end just that little bit more kind of meaningful, was the fact that they're right. What they're actually fighting for is the fact that, they were allowed to live in the world, and the world for the first time ever didn't kick them while they were down, because half of the world was empty. And, they've managed to claw themselves up into something like a normal lifestyle. And now suddenly everybody's come back, and it's like, oh, well, no, go back to being poor, you shit cunts.
Yeah.
And you're like,
that was the original line, I hear.
Yeah.
They had the Aussie, that very beautiful flag smasher. He was going, go back to where you came from, you shit cunts. And
exactly.
They cut that out for that reason. But
yeah, I can see why.
It was really powerful. Like, you do cry a lot.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought that undermining of their story really undermines, because the whole show was meant to be about shades of grey. It's why people, why couldn't Sam pick up the shield? Why was Bucky unable to move on? Why was John Walker not the right person to be Captain America? All because there's shades of fucking grey. And then you put in a bad guy who's essentially got no shades of grey. Yeah.
As soon as you're killing civilians for any reason, unless they're infected by the thing or something, it's like, you're the bad guy now. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's 11:30. I reckon it's about time.
It's bedtime.
Get your time.
You know what you should do, Quinny? You should go to bed with a good book.
You know what? I think I might. Look, Ant, it's been an absolute pleasure. I hope that the book goes absolutely off, mate.
Thanks, man. And listen, thanks for beginning up and thanks for having me on, because this is small potatoes in the world, and I really appreciate the support. You're a legend.
You, sir, you are the one who wrote a goddamn fucking book.
for sure.
We're the ones who just. Yeah, it's very impressive. And as somebody who can't write an 8-page comic script,
that's because you're trying to put an 800-page novel into the 8-page comic strip, Quinny. I don't think it's about quality. I think it's about quantity there, my brother.
I think you may be absolutely right. Beautiful. Look, thank you so much, Rob, Casper. Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Predicanga, love you. Love your work. And Angels, Devils, thank you. We'll be back on Tuesday. I can't remember what we're reviewing, but I know Dion is
Shadow and Bone.
Shadow and Bone. That's right. I watched the first episode.
I like that. Yeah.
I watched the first episode of that.
Season. Like, it was okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, I'm one episode in, and I'm like, this is interesting enough. I will give it a go.
Yeah.
All right. I might give it a go on the weekend, then.
It's better than the Nevers and the Irregulars, so it's good.
Right. Okay. Well, I've not heard great things about the Irregulars, and I have such weird feelings about the Nevers.
I haven't really heard many people talking about the Nevers, but
the Nevers,
not sure that
the Nevers is good, but it's just got the curse of Joss Whedon's name on it, unfortunately. So, unfortunately, you're probably not going to see more than one season.
Well, I'd like to think that he may do better than that. Anyway, all of this shit and more we will discuss on Tuesday nights. Thank you, Anthony. Congratulations, mate.
Good night, Australia.
Good night.